Three, two, one. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Uh, 13 days, if I'm correct, 13 days until the election. So we are in full swing, and make no mistake about it, the polls are still saying it is incredibly close. So right off the bat, I want to ask you folks, do you believe the polls? Do you think the polls are accurate, suggesting that the election is still so close? Or is it possibly something that the polls are missing out on? Maybe the right people aren't being polled. Maybe the people that are being polled are not necessarily being honest with the pollsters. But we have been talking about a close election basically since Kamala Harris got in it. Now, under Biden, Trump was somewhat running away with it. Certainly after June 27th, when Trump trounced Biden in the debate. Now, Kamala Harris, many would suggest Kamala Harris really beat Trump in the debate as well. However, she didn't run away with it. But when Trump beat Biden, he began to run away with it. Had a hell of a lot. I've had folks on the program, liberals come on the program, and even they were like, well, shit, Biden is just not going to do it. And I had even liberals suggesting they were going to vote for Trump. But when Kamala Harris defeated Trump in the debate, by many estimates, this is the whole cats and dogs and Haitian migrants debate, I didn't get many MAGA that were suggesting they were going to switch to Kamala Harris. So I'm going to ask you folks, which is the title of this live stream. Would Kamala having virtually no record at all and Trump having a 4-year history in the White House to run on, why is this so close? Trump has a record. Many folks favor his economy, favor the fact that there were no global conflicts worldwide, favor the fact they could afford groceries, they could afford fuel, yet the race remains close. Why is it so close if Kamala Harris has no record, or some would even suggest a little bit of record she does have, folks giving her the credit as being border czar and some of those other terms? If you're going to suggest that she has no record or she has a poor record, why is she still so competitive with former President Trump? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Also, I want to follow up secondary question. I'm sure many of you are aware of General Kelly, Trump's former chief of staff. Trump's chief of staff, very high-ranking right-hand man to former President Trump, coming out and said some really, really damning things about the former president. And we will run a clip of that because I think it is worthy of discussing. But the secondary topic is, why do you believe so many people are essentially scared of former President Trump? Because there are a lot of folks that might favor some of the things that happened under his administration, but folks are literally scared of Trump. Why is that?
In Trump's White House, Kelly was asked about the former president's behavior when it came to the Constitution and the all-important rule of law. Watch this.
Did the former president appreciate the Constitution? Did he appreciate any of these things?
No.
He expected the people that worked for him to break the law?
Well, when he would give, and I think I've told you this many times, when he would tell me that he wanted to do something, 100% of the time I check with the White House counsel, because oftentimes he wouldn't have the authority to do what he wanted to do.
When he was confronted with the fact that he couldn't do something legally, did he want to do it anyway?
He would try to make the case that he did have the authority.
Now, I want to point out something before we continue on. This is his own chief of staff. In the comments, real quick, and I do appreciate you folks that are already entering the comments, Melanated King says he was fired, talking about General Kelly. Well, just because someone is terminated doesn't automatically mean everything they're saying is false or that they're making everything up. That doesn't always play it that way. Because keep in mind, if you want to talk about being terminated, technically Trump in 2020 was terminated by the American people. So does that mean because he got voted out, everything he says about the country is false? No, you wouldn't say that. You believe some of the things Trump is saying. So why would General Kelly, a 4-star, highly respected, highly decorated general, suddenly turn into a complete liar where everything he's saying is not true? That doesn't make sense. That does not make sense. And by the way, we could also go into what General Milley and General Petraeus has said also. Does that mean all of them are lying? I want to point that out. These guys have developed a decorated military career over, in most cases, close to 2 generations. Why would they just suddenly all start telling lies on former President Trump? Just want to point that out. There are people in the room who said different. Okay, fair enough, but just because there's some folks are saying one thing and some folks are saying the other, that doesn't automatically mean what the generals are saying is a lie. Maybe the people in the room are. I mean, it's worthy of a debate. Maybe all of these generals are lying on Trump, perhaps, but the likeliness of that, the statistical probability that former President Trump's just about his entire staff during his first term all decided in sync to lie about the guy. Just want to talk about the statistical probability of that. It's not like there's one Omarosa or somebody that's making up all kinds of bad shit about Trump. It's essentially his entire staff that are all saying this. That might also, as opposed to suggesting they got fired and lied and they got fired and now they're all lying on Trump, it could be the other way around. Whereas they were trying to point out things that were wrong about former President Trump, and he got mad and started firing them. So I want to point that out, that it's possible the chicken could have come before the egg. We're assuming because they all got fired, they're making up lies about Trump. There is a possibility that they were trying to alert people about Trump and got fired as a result. I do want to make folks understand this could happen both ways. Anyhow, I'm going to go straight to the box, and I'm asking that question: why are there so many people that are frightened of Trump? Trump is not the president, says the Rimbar. I try to call him former President Trump, but I'm going to say I do that mainly because it comes up in the audience, and I don't want to waste time on it. But fact is, his title should be President Trump, period. If you have an issue calling Trump president because he used to be president, but you're going around calling Tim Walz coach, knowing damn well he ain't coaching anybody right now, then you're biased. Then you're biased against Trump. Or if you call Obama President Obama without a problem, you're not walking around calling President Obama former president, are you? Let's be fair about it. You're calling Trump former president because you don't like Trump. But out of respect for the office, this is what these folks go by. This is how this works. Once you have obtained that office, you get called that position for the rest of your life. I'm a Chicago Bears fan. We still call Mike Ditka coach when he's on television. That's how it works. I gotta say, in defense of Trump, he's the first time I've ever heard people openly calling a former president former. They don't normally do that. They don't normally call these guys former president. He's President Trump. There's just a lot of people that don't like Trump and don't like the idea of president being before his name. But I don't hear too many people saying former President Obama. He walks out on stage and they call him President Obama. So there is some bias there against Trump. Anyhow, looking in the comments though, I just call him Trump because he's not too presidential, says Mr. Splackerville. Okay, fair enough. You don't like his politics. I get it. Trump word as president is top. Commander generals take word. Wait. Trump's word as president is top. Commander generals take order from president. Before we go to the box, and by the way, tap the screen. The program is in full session. You know we don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We are indeed MAGA friendly. Always have been, always will be. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone in the program. Nevertheless, I did want to respond to the comment that Melanated King said Trump's word as president is top commander. Generals take orders from the president. Not if those orders are illegal, Melanated King. You don't, just because your superior gives you an order, if you are 100% aware that that is an illegal order, you don't have to do that. In other words, if Trump orders you to go and take out, let's say, Hillary Clinton, it's not legal. So no, Trump is the commander in chief, but his orders are held to a standard. You can't just throw stuff out there. And I see in the comments, RV Life, or maybe better yet, Michael, who said that? No, RV Life. Yeah, RV Life says you can question orders. And that is a fact. I'm not military related, but I've heard it all over the damn place. As a subordinate, you don't have to follow orders that you know and are aware that are illegal. How many of you folks seen the movie A Few Good Men? Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore, Tom Cruise, where Jack Nicholson ordered two basically privates or whatever, two Marines to perform a code red. At the end of the movie, once they convicted Jack Nicholson, it was clear that those two individuals were following orders of Jack Nicholson, a colonel. He was a full-blood colonel. They were simply following orders, yet they still got dishonorably discharged from the military. And that was lucky because they were trying to charge him with murder. So, yeah, and at the end of the movie, the guy even said, we knew what we were doing was wrong, yet we did it anyway. So, yeah, you don't just say, I'm commander in chief, so anything I say goes. That is something a dictator would say. Going straight to the bots. Thank you, folks that are tapping the screen. Get the likes on up to, well, let's say about 10,000. We can make that happen. Michelangelo, shout out to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Michelangelo, good evening. Welcome to the program. Why are folks scared of Trump? Why the hell is that?
I have no idea, man. That's insane to me.
But you are aware people are fearful of this guy.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. He's going to be great, though.
Say that again?
He's going to be great.
Yeah. Any idea why his own chief of staff is suggesting that he used to idolize Hitler and wants generals like Hitler used to have? Any idea why he's saying that?
Why his staff kind of disagree with it, you saying?
No, that's not disagree. His own chief of staff is saying that Trump used to idolize Adolf and has even suggested he wished he could have generals like Adolf did. Generals that essentially are not going to question orders and to do whatever you tell them to.
What's wrong with that?
Laws in place. I mean, Hitler might tell you to round up the Jews. You don't see anything wrong with that?
Oh, okay. In terms of that, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Why do you think they're saying that he was idolizing this guy?
I think that's the liberals saying that.
You realize we're talking about Trump's chief of staff. This is a person that Trump hired to be his right-hand man. You believe that Trump hired a liberal?
I got to do my little research on that because I didn't hear that one.
All right. Well, I would start out right off the bat by saying you need to hear that. Just for shits and giggles, I'll play a little bit of it for you.
Kelly was asked about the former president's behavior when it came to the Constitution and the all-important rule of law. Watch this.
This is his chief of
Did
staff.
the former president appreciate the Constitution? Did he appreciate any of these things?
No.
Now, before I even continue, that's his own chief of staff saying the guy didn't even appreciate the Constitution. Why do you think he would say that?
See, that's a tough one, man.
Yeah. How do you feel about it, knowing that somebody who was his right-hand man, handpicked by Trump himself after spending 4 years under Trump, is coming back saying, this guy does not even appreciate the Constitution? This is a 4-star general saying this. This isn't somebody he picked off the street, some junkyard dog. This is a highly respected man saying this.
Maybe he's just upset you don't want the position no more. He can't have the position no more.
Well, if Trump had won, he would have the position for a second term. Why are all of these folks? I mean, and by the way, this is not the only general that is saying this about Trump. General Milley is also saying it.
It's interesting.
Yeah. You had not heard about any of this.
No, sir.
All right. Well, I'll leave you time to do your homework. I will move it on. You need to hear it because you started out by saying, there's no reason to fear him. Things are going to be great. But clearly you have not heard why people are fearing this guy.
I thought you were pro-Trump.
I don't hate the guy, but I question things. I question things about Kamala. I question things about Trump. I'm not pro anyone so much to the point where something like this comes out, I just ignore it because I support that candidate. I don't believe in doing that. I believe in questioning what's going on.
Yeah, I got you.
Fair enough. Look into it. Come on back anytime. All right, move.
Yes, sir.
All right, appreciate it. Moving on with the program. Yeah, this is something certainly I believe, regardless of how you feel about Trump or Kamala Harris, you need to find out whether I don't think this is something you should just totally ignore. How often do 4-star generals just lie on the president? Do we have any other historical precedents of another case where 4-star generals just started lying on a president? I'd be curious to know. If left and right are the exact same thing, then it's hard to believe. Left and right, why would anybody suggest that left and right are the same thing? Pro-life, Second Amendment, we're talking about the way you feel about immigrants. There's a heap of evidence to counter any notion that left and right are the same thing. They're not the same thing. Continuing on the program, by the way, tap the screen. Somebody said he's a traitor. Based on what? He's being critical of Trump. Is that all it takes to become a traitor in the United States? No matter what you've done for your country, the moment you speak ill of Trump, you instantly become a traitor? Are you supposed to be loyal to the country or loyal to Trump? That's all it takes. He's a 4-star general. All of the I want to say not necessarily just combat, but just patriotism to his country. All of that goes out the window the moment he criticizes Trump, and now he's a traitor. That's all it takes. Wow. All right, continuing on with the program. I am learning. Real quick, before we go to the next caller, in the eyes of Maga, yeah, that's all it takes. Wow. Trump truly sees himself as a tough guy. There's nothing wrong with that. Hell, I thought I was a tough guy until I got my ass kicked a couple times. There's nothing wrong with thinking you're a tough guy. This isn't about being tough, though. When you start giving orders that may be criminal, that's a different story. This is why you can't have a good conversation with these people. Trump is their God. Says Lovefest 77. Going back to the box, Trump is not tough at all. I don't know. Depends. I don't know the guy personally. Texas Mom, appreciate it. They are loyal to a fault. To see them speak up and try to stop this mess named Trump. Going to the box. Tap the screen. Get us on up to 20,000. Continuing on with the program. Okay, this is interesting. Director of does that say Director of Homeless or Homeland Security? Good evening. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, no, it's a new cabinet position that Biden invented during his debate with Trump.
And that is the Director of what?
Director of Homeless Security.
Okay, so Biden misspoke. I get it. So I'm asking that question. Why are so many people afraid of another Trump term?
I'm genuinely curious. I think there are some people who are genuinely afraid. And I'm genuinely curious if there's people out there who are like, I don't even really believe all the crap they're saying about Trump, but I'm just anti-Trump. And I'm pro-Democrat to the point where it doesn't matter. And
wait, are you describing yourself or someone else? Are you pro-Trump?
That's where my vote's going.
Okay, you're voting for Trump. Okay, all right.
Options.
Now I get that. That's fair enough. Now when there were 9 other candidates that ran against Trump: Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy. Were you favoring one of them more than Trump?
At first Vivek was kind of attractive, but then it started seeming like he's saying all the things I want to hear, and then now he's just a Charlie Kirk with a little bit more melanin. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of him. For me, I'm conservative till they get evangelical, then I'm out, bro.
Okay, wow. So you're not far right, in other words, because that's what the evangelical are. They're Christians and they're far to the right. They want America to be a Christian-based society, law-wise. They want laws based on Christianity.
Yeah, no, I'm not down with that. And I mean, hey, if I was a single issue voter, then that would be a deal breaker for me, right? But I think that there's bigger faults on the left because we've got constitutional protections. You got to make sure that you use them, but we've got constitutional protections that keep you from having to be a Christian, right? We don't really have a lot of stuff on the books right now that says, you know what, you can't have that AB at month 8, right? Unless it's at the risk of your life or whatever, but an elective one for convenience, right? People can say all they want.
Let me push back on it.
But show me the law that says it can't happen.
But here's the issue. Right now, you're talking about abortion in the 8th month. Here's the issue I have about that, though. When we talk about when the left starts talking about anything about some type of gun ban or block. Now, I know the Second Amendment is Constitution. Abortion is not a constitutional protected right, but there are some similarities. And what I'm saying is this: anytime somebody talks about taking away gun rights, the first response is, if you take away guns, they'll either find another way or you'll push it to the black market. Why don't the abortion ban people realize the same thing exists about abortion? If you ban it, people are going to create synthetic drugs that the doctors used to use to make the same thing happen. I mean, you're not going to get rid of this. You're just going to push it on the black market, where now it's going to be to the point where some of these women are going to die because they have botched abortions, or they're going to be giving birth to mutants that they tried to get rid of and they didn't completely get rid of it. So now it's got 3 eyes or 6 legs. Why don't folks realize that? You're not getting rid of this. You're just changing where it comes from.
And I'm sorry I let out with the abortion topic.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Because that's not my main beef with Democrats. It just, it's one of the hot topics for this election cycle. I actually lean just like a percent towards the pro-choice side, right? I tried being a libertarian, but you go hang out with some libertarians, you get a little sketched out, I do, my philosophy is that, I don't think either of them give a damn about us, but I've got a better chance of being left alone with conservatives in. Now, people can make the argument all they want. Oh, they're trying to ban this book and they're trying to do this and that. It's like, yeah, okay, I hear you. But the left wants to send police to your house if you make the wrong comment on Facebook. The left does want to take your pew-pews. They can talk all that crap they want. They do want to take them. They disguise it as common sense pew-pew reform, but you give a mouse a cookie, he wants a glass of milk.
Okay, but you're talking about the left wants to send police to your house if you got a pew-pew. I'm going, since you brought it up, I play this on many programs. It's only a few. It's only
when I said that.
Said it.
Just like in Australia, if you said something bad about Parliament and they came knocking on your door and said, did you make this comment on Facebook? The left's not exactly against that.
Okay.
The left does not like you speaking out against your government.
Okay, then, just based on what you're talking about, police coming here, I want you to hear this clip. I've played it on numerous broadcasts, but I want to get your opinion on this.
Safety, beauty, better than ever before. We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to work with Democrat mayors who are running, in every instance, running them. Democrat mayors and many Democrat governors. And we're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted.
How do you feel about that? You're talking about the police coming in your house. He's talking about giving them immunity from prosecution. What's your take on that?
Yeah, first of all, I can't defend everything that comes out of that dude's mouth, right?
But yeah, I get that. But you said that. You just stated that you tend to lean right. You're going to, if you have to pick, you're going to pick the right side because they'll leave you alone and let you live your life. You think that would happen in an environment where the police have immunity from prosecution?
I said I had a better chance of it because you've got another person running for office who has no problem with the the interrogator changing the transcripts on, you want me to pull his name up? His last name is something Palacios in California, right? Where they changed the transcript of his testimony to make him look guilty, okay? And it was a heinous crime against a child, right? So, and then what happened was he won on appeal, right? And he was assaulted in prison, and he said Kamala.
When did this happen?
Shit, I got it on my phone right now. Let me pop it into my computer.
When did the transcripts get changed? Is this something that just happened a couple of days ago or something?
No. This was more than a decade ago, right?
Because this right here, when I'm playing you, is a few weeks ago.
Right. So let's just take it at face value, right? I'll pull out my source for you, but let's just take it at face value. You got one guy who says, I think the police should have immunity, and then you've got another person who's actually either put someone in prison for the rest of their life who isn't guilty, or because of their misconduct, let somebody who did a heinous crime off free.
Yeah, but then but based on what you're saying, I'm going to immediately push back and say that, Trump called for the Central Park Five to be hung for a crime they didn't do. And now that he knows they didn't do it, he hasn't backtracked his statement.
Well, hold on. So first of all, when that newspaper op-ed or whatever you want to call it, because I can't call it an article, I can't call it an ad, I don't know what you want to call it.
It's the whole center of the page. I don't know what you want to call it. It's the whole.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, was the Central Park Five ever named by Central Park Five in that article? The answer is no.
Okay.
And secondly, at the time, were they not self-admitted guilty of that crime?
Yeah.
At that time. Okay. So let's say you said something crazy about, or not crazy. Let's say you said something very mean about Scott Peterson or Richard Allen Davis.
You're calling for somebody to be hung now, director. This is not calling for something mean. You're calling for somebody to be juveniles, by the way. They were underage. You're calling for kids to be hung. This ain't saying something mean. Keep going.
If at the time of my statement you are self-admitted guilty of the crime, and I think that the 5 people who did that to a person, you got to be TikTok friendly. So
I get it. Great.
Right? Then being hung is the least of your problems in my world, buddy. You know what I mean? If you are self-admitted at that time that the statement comes out of my mouth, if you are self-admitted guilty, how do you hold me accountable for what comes out of my mouth about their?
I'm not holding you accountable. I get you. You make a good point. I'm not holding you accountable at the time. What I'm saying is, consider that you did something so over the top by taking out this huge article. Once it's found out that they got the wrong people, what do you do then?
I mean, hey, can we make the argument that he should say something like, we really need to look into the prosecution's conduct and stuff like that about this? I can't believe that 5 people would be coerced into testimony and so on and so forth. Okay, maybe.
You can't believe that 5 blacks back in the day. I mean, I'm going to assume they're not the only ones this happened to. I mean, is that really that hard to believe?
You know what? I do find it hard to believe that somebody would admit to that crime.
Wait, hold on. You got 5 juveniles. You're not letting their parents in on the interrogation. You're using sleep deprivation. You're lying and telling them hold on, there's more. You're lying and telling them if they confess, they can go home. You're not letting them sleep. You don't see how you can get a confession out of kids? Trained investigators? You don't think they could do that?
No, that's fair. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, they're kids.
Yeah, and absolutely, if the backtrack on the statement wasn't even an apology, it was more so, let's look at, the actual facts and go, hey, we've got some prosecution misconduct as well as rampant crime in the city. But let's not forget, at the time of that crime, I forgot the kid's name, but it was on a subway, and he had nothing to do with anything, and he was stabbed and died, and the city really went in uproar over
but
that.
You're going back to the tab. What I'm asking you is this. Once you found out they were not guilty after taking out this huge ad, what do you do?
I would say
take your time.
I don't even know if an apology is in order.
How about trying one? How about at least giving it a go?
But I'm just saying, if at the time that I made that statement, they were self-admitted guilty, I don't think I owe an apology for the words that came out of my mouth. Now, with that kind of money and influence and power, should I take out another front page and say we've got prosecutors who are putting children who are innocent in prison for the rest of their life? Sure, he owes that to the public.
You are bold enough. out of every citizen in New York to go out and buy this huge article in the paper demanding that something that nobody else in New York is taking out this article talking about these kids should be hung. You do that. And when you find out they're not guilty, well, that's what was going on at the time. I'm not saying I should apologize. Why would you do something so bold if you're not going to clear it up once it turns? I mean, you going to just leave that out there?
Did you or any other black person who felt like Jesse Smollett was actually assaulted and all that stuff? Remember what's his name? The Congressman
Jesse.
Cory Booker, when he said that this is a modern day lynching. Did anybody come out and backtrack and say, "Hey, I'm sorry that I supported that person and the words that came out of my mouth about that whole situation, I was wrong"? You didn't hear none of that.
No, and you raise a good point, but I will tell you this: when Jesse Smollett did that, or when you talk about Cory Booker, you take out a big ass ad. Yeah, if you put a mic in Cory Booker's face or you put a microphone, they should apologize. You're right, they should do that. Just like Trump, and by the way, Trump doubled down. Trump still has been pushing back, suggesting they may still be guilty. He's not even came back and say, okay, well, I do realize they're innocent. He's still indicating they might still be guilty of that, which is why they are now officially suing him, because he's since went on and said more negative things about them. They have a current lawsuit in against him.
Yeah, and previous to me giving consideration to the fact that they were minors, not given counsel, the parents weren't allowed there, right? Assuming, and this isn't the case, I'm just saying, assuming they were around 18, 19, 20, right?
I think they were younger than that.
To have admitted to that crime, to think that, to go back to the phase of innocence. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not trying to give Trump too much of a pass, but on the same token, like, man, you did admit to it. Now, I understand the circumstances to admitting it were fucked up. I would concede that. But it's still one of those things where, how do you say you did something and now you didn't?
Yeah, but I hear that point, but even then, you're calling for kids to be lynched. You're actually calling for kids. Even though it's a heinous crime and they confess, you're calling for the lynching of children.
All right, hey, me and you, you don't know me, but based on conversations we've had before, and you talk about where you've lived and grown up and stuff, man, I know 15-year-olds that are complete fucking monsters. They will take your life and not think twice about it.
I hear it, but to me,
this idea that just because of their age, if you're capable of performing that heinous of a crime, fair enough, they're innocent, right? But I'm saying, if at the time you say, I did this to this woman, I don't give a damn if you're 15 or 50.
Thank God they have a law that prevents people from executing juveniles. They were between, and I'm reading the article, 5 black and Hispanic boys aged between 14 and 16. So he wanted a 14-year-old to be lynched. I don't know where to go with that. And certainly once you find out if he didn't do it, and you're going to leave that out there that you call for a 14-year-old to be hung?
Well, hey, we all know who he was talking about, but to be fair, the Central Park 5 was never named in that article. He was talking about the crime around the city, and people who do crimes like that should be hung.
Well, like I said, at the end of the day, once it became clear that you wrote an article about juveniles calling for them to be hung that were not guilty, you have a duty to say something. Certainly if you're running for damn president of the country, to leave that out there looks horrible. I can understand why, just like I would assume if Kamala Harris did this about 5 white, young white people, the white community would be upset about it as well. Especially when you double down and you refuse to apologize and come up with all of these. Just listen, at the time, it was a heinous crime. This young girl did not deserve what happened to her. I wanted blood. This is wrong. But now that I've realized that we had the wrong people, I'm going to offer my sincere apology. How hard is that to do?
No, that's fair. I don't think that would be that hard for him to do, right?
And the fact that he won't do that speaks volumes.
I just think the fact that people are so hung up on that, right? There's bigger stuff. There's bigger stuff that has happened since then. I don't know if you got the breaking news today, but did you know that they're going to start prosecuting Donald Trump? He used an aerosol can in a manner other than directed.
Wait, repeat that?
He used an aerosol can in a manner other than directed.
What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm just saying they're going to throw whatever fucking spaghetti they can at the wall at this guy, Why not make one of those charges, right?
Well, I can often say on the program, you have a stronger point if you weren't defending Trump, because that's exactly what he did about the 2020 election. To get people to believe it was fraudulent, they threw everything. There's dead people voting. The machines are switching. I mean, they did the exact same thing you're talking about. Let's throw everything at the wall possible about this election and see what sticks. They did the exact any way you can cheat in an election. They suggested was happening.
One's using his voice and his Twitter account. The other's using the DOJ.
He was using a lot. Well, you're using your voice, but now here we are 4 years later. I went to the polling place. They got cops out there now. People don't trust the voting process anymore. Just like the Haitian migrants. People scared to leave their pets around. Your voice is getting people killed.
Process when supposedly the 2016 election was stolen. I've been given no. Here's the measures we've taken to change anything. But of course, the 2020 was the most secure election in history. What changed between 2016 and 2020 that made 2020 the most secure election in history?
Why don't you go ask Trump's very own attorney general? Because that's where the statement came from. Attorney General Barr, who investigated all of Trump's claims and came back with that statement. Now, we're talking currently about General Kelly, another one of Trump's hires. But that came from his attorney general. Why are his own people shooting him down so damn much?
Why is it that when a four-star general, like you were saying about a half hour ago, says something that the left likes, now he's an admirable person of the utmost character. But when Colin Powell was running his mouth, he was a what? I can't say the word. You know the word I'm fucking saying.
Well, some of it's politics, just like RFK and Candace Owens, what is her name? Tulsi Gabbard. When she was running for the liberal president, you guys wasn't loving her like you do now. I mean, some of it's politics. All of a sudden, now Tulsi Gabbard's a damn hero. But when she was running for the Democratic president, there wasn't no celebration of Tulsi Gabbard like there is now. Some of it's politics. I'll give you the last word. I do got to move it on.
All right, I appreciate the last word, man. I'm not even the hugest fan of Tulsi Gabbard myself, but I'll tell you what, I give that beautiful woman the business. Thanks for having me.
I'll wrap it up with that. Appreciate it, man. Good talk. Moving on with the program, folks, and that's how we do it here. We all about free speech. You don't have to agree with anybody on the damn program. Yeah, we will push back, but at the end of the day, free speech reigns supreme. We go left of Bernie Sanders, so I'm having dinner with QAnon. You can be critical of anybody in the comment section, including the damn host. That's how free speech works. You favor a program where they're always talking about things you want to hear, keep scrolling. We don't do that here. Keep scrolling. Everybody gets to speak here regardless of their damn opinion, and we don't talk down to guests. Continuing on the program, by the way, and tap the screen. Ronnie says, you are so reasonable. I just really support free speech. Will G, MAGA does not respect the military MAGA does not respect the military at all when it comes to Trump, says Will G. I like to push back, but I gotta agree with that. I do believe that if you are a police officer, a Capitol police officer, a high-ranking military official, a high-ranking politician as well respected, doesn't matter. If you criticize Trump, they're gonna believe Trump over you. I could come up with 100,000 examples. I do agree with that with MAGA, that if you criticize Trump, Trump is going to reign supreme over that. In fact, before I go to the next caller, I have asked that question before on the program. I've just given a fictional scenario where, as I stated, let's just say, because I know a lot of people believe the charges against Trump are a witch hunt. They're made up. They just want to prevent him from running. Election interference. I get it. But the fictional scenario, and by the way, tap the screen, get us up to 30,000, smash that like button on YouTube, get us on up to about 50, F-I-D-D-Y, 50. But fictional scenario. Not saying Trump did anything. Let's say, for instance, for shits and giggles, Trump committed a major felony. Could be anything. This is what I often ask MAGA. Who could tell you that Trump committed a major felony and you would actually believe them? If Trump is saying I didn't do it, who could tell you that he committed that major felony and you would actually believe him? That's the dilemma we're in. That is the dilemma we're in. Because if he commits a major felony, who's going to tell you? The CIA probably would be the one that tells you, or the FBI, or the NSA. This is where it's going to come from. Maybe Homeland Security. Do you believe MAGA is going to trust one of those organizations if Trump is screaming, I didn't do it? So that is the point. If he did commit a major felony, who could tell you and you would actually believe it. Shout out to Trump, because if that's the case, he's going to always get the benefit of the doubt, and then there's no way you can get out. You can get him. Whose fault is it? Says Lucy. Whose fault is it that MAGA doesn't trust any organization in the country? Who would have made MAGA? I mean, most MAGA has had no interaction with the NSA or the CIA. So why don't they trust them? Whose fault is it that MAGA doesn't trust the CIA or Homeland Security? It's not like the average MAGA has had contact with these folks. It's not like you're going to get a Trump supporter that say, listen, I got roughed up by the CIA, so I don't trust the ass. So where do you think they got that from? Let me go back to the box. And I do agree with the Steve Bannon to some degree. We'll continue the program on First Watch. Is that Julio in there? Did I see Julio? They let Biden's son walk. Well, Biden's son, has he officially? I don't think he's officially walked yet. First Watch, good evening.
Oh man, good evening, Tim. How you doing today, man? You finally let me up here, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Well, I'm glad to have you in, man. I appreciate you coming through. So what do you think? Why are so many people scared of Trump? And when you factor in, Trump has a record to run on. Good economy, people could afford shit, people could fill their car up with gas. Why are people picking Kamala Harris over Trump when she has no record at all, and he has one that is somewhat decent that he can run on?
What you mean by that, Tim? Because the polls split 50-50.
I'll explain. That's what I'm talking about.
Look, that means Democrats and Republicans split equally on it. If Kamala was so good, you should have had more Republicans going over to the Democrat side to help them. But at this point right now, ain't nobody scared of Trump. It's just the way black people think at this time. They've been I ain't going to say brainwashed because I'm a nigga.
Don't say that. Wait. Hold on. You chose. Wait. Hold on. You chose to skip over using the word brainwashed to say the N-word. Where does that happen at? I don't want to say brainwashed. I'd rather say, where does that happen? Hold down on the N-word. Don't say, oh my God. Keep going.
Yeah, well, black people are in a position right now, right? You want to do the right thing. This is why I think Trump don't have as many black people as he should have, since you asking, especially since black people been voting Democrat for 98% of their life, which means they think that they ain't got nowhere else to vote. So if you think that the worst person in the world is Trump, look, I wanted to say this right here. You always get on this line talking about what did Trump do for the blacks? Why do people?
Hold on. I have never used. No. Wait. I got you. You're saying something that's not true. You're saying something that's not true.
What?
I have never used the phrase "What have Trump done for the blacks?" I don't say that about Obama or any. I don't ever say that.
Why? You say why do Trump always say he's the best thing that happened to black people?
Yes. Okay.
Then you laugh and say they freed us in slavery. Okay. Now, first of all, let me say this right here. As you listen to black men, black people, they always say the same thing. Democrats don't do nothing for them. No matter how many presidents, Bush, Clinton, Obama, they always say the same thing. Nobody pay attention to us or listen or this and that. You had one president who, this is why I follow and I support Trump. So listen, you had one president who reached out to every organization in the black community, the churches, the schools, the entrepreneurs, the children. He reached out to everybody, even though we had preachers going online, disowning him, denouncing him, saying, no, we don't want him to be here and this and that. But at the first time, I just saw somebody in the comments say roaches. I'm like, well, Biden the one who said niggas.
Keep going, because I got to respond. I mean, you got a long monologue, okay. So just stay focused. Keep going.
All right, but anyway, with Trump acknowledged situations. It's not about the vice president saying, I'm fit to reach out and I'm going to help black men. I'm fit to do this. It's not about that, because most black men don't want I'm not going to say a handout because we do need and want a handout, but most black men want to stand on their own and do what it is they need to do. If you provide a service of equal opportunity, where if you go to the bank, you go to the loan company, you do any of these things to invest in property, invest in your community. Because first of all, I was upset.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get in. You got a long spiel. You're going on for a minute. Okay. I got notes. You've been talking so long. I actually got notes. Wrap it up. Moving on. Go ahead.
I'm trying to go quick for you. Democrats don't support black men governing themselves and governing their communities in their own neighborhoods. As you can look at the businesses and the churches is what governs every community. All our businesses in our community are other races of people who own businesses and take the money out of our neighborhood. There's no laws or nothing, no regulations, nothing that'll stop. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me ask you. Yeah, I'm right. I was writing some notes. You covered so much. Let me start out by asking because you mentioned me stating and laughing or referring to Trump saying he's done more. Okay, he's sitting now. The quote is, "I've done more for blacks than anybody since Abraham Lincoln." So right off the bat, I'm just going to ask you: do you agree with what Trump said that he's done more for blacks than anybody since Abraham Lincoln?
Yes.
Right.
Because just him reaching out to I just told you, he reached out to the churches. He reached out to every organization.
Okay, all right. Let me continue. Okay, let me continue. I get it. Wait, hold on. Look, we can't. I can't give you 5 minutes and then I talk for 10 seconds and you come. Okay.
Sorry.
Here's the issue. Now you mentioned right here, looking at your notes. You said one thing you liked about Trump is he's reached out to schools, churches, entrepreneurs, and folks in the hood. Now I asked you. Did he, do you agree he's done more for any president since Abraham Lincoln? You said yes, and you started going into him reaching out. Is that all, out of all 46 presidents, is that all we've gotten from any of them is, well, I've reached out to churches, schools, and entrepreneurs? That's the best since Abraham Lincoln. Even, we've had a lot of Republican presidents too. That's the second best thing since freeing us from slavery is you've reached out to churches. What did he actually do beyond that?
Yes, because Obama reached out to.
We're talking about Trump. More for anybody. What did he do? We know Abraham Lincoln freed us from slavery. Give me what Trump did.
When you reach out, it's just like me and you communicating right now, having a manly conversation. One day, just like I hear you with other callers, you say, "Hey, we could go down to Ohio and find out." And even though y'all was speaking, y'all talking about coincide together, going down to Ohio, finding somebody who about cats and this and paying them to record it. So with him reaching out, just for those 4 years with him reaching out, I don't know how to say this. And
you got to say it better than this.
Yeah. Just by him reaching out and putting the effort. See, this world is all about effort. When people do things and when you make money, it's about effort. It's about the way you feel out here in this world. That's what makes the stock.
So what are you giving him an Afro participation trophy? What did he do?
Yes.
That's it. So the number one president. Hold on.
Anything, because everybody he reached out to in order to help him, they turned him down and waited for Biden to get in office, thinking that when he got in office, he was going to shine on Trump and help all the black community and give them things to help. And he didn't do it. I'm not hearing black people
that has reached whatever they felt about Biden. What I'm asking you, you said he's done more for blacks than anybody else since Abraham Lincoln. What about Lyndon B. Johnson? Hold up. What about Lyndon B. Johnson giving us civil rights? You think Trump did more than giving us civil rights?
He didn't give us civil rights. He passed the law, but he didn't give it. The people was fighting. That's when we were fighting.
If he had not passed the law, would we still have civil rights?
Well, civil rights is for everybody.
I'm asking a question. You said he didn't do nothing. He just passed the law. I'm asking you, if he had not passed that law, would we have civil rights?
It all depends on what you mean by civil rights, because
you don't know what civil rights is.
I know what civil rights is, man. I'm very intelligent.
I get it, but I'm asking you, okay, what did Lyndon B. Johnson do in your opinion?
Lyndon B. Johnson tricked black people. That's what I think he did.
Okay, explain.
Yeah, I don't think you have enough time, Tim, but go ahead. Finish saying what you're saying.
I don't have it. Once you do
Lyndon B. Johnson did give civil rights, but civil rights wasn't just for black people. I want you to tell me something that another president specifically did for only black people. Just name one law, any one law that any president passed just for black people. Trump never got a chance. He only did 4 years. I believe that if he get back in office in his next 4 years, oh man.
Okay, first watch. You don't run for president for 8 years. You run one term if you're good enough to re-election. You don't get in there and say, well, I would have done all these great things if I had got 2 terms. Wait, hold on. That ain't what
you know, it's one thing that I never hear you say. It's one thing I never hear you say about all the how they sabotage President Trump while he was in office. Even when he got in office, the Democrats was able to turn 1/3 of the world against
the world.
President Trump, saying the world. England was having little babies with diapers. I mean, you had
the world.
He was able to turn the world against us. I never saw that before in my life. That's one of the reasons why I started paying attention, because I say, wow, everybody hate him? Why?
Why was it so easy?
Everything he did was wrong. The economy was wrong. You know what Obama said? Obama told Trump when he got in office, what you got? You got a golden stick down there to bring manufacturing jobs. Now I hear Obama going around talking about, I did this. But Trump got in office and Obama congratulated him for bringing back manufacturing jobs because we lost all of them. So now I'm hearing all this rhetoric coming from everybody and saying, oh, it was Obama and Connie. It wasn't Obama and Connie.
How do you feel about now? You've been in a okay. Yeah, you can. Okay, I get it. You got these long spills. Okay, you still going. You said okay. You can. How do you feel about?
This is the first time I was able to talk to you, and I'm so excited.
Okay, all right.
I'm just trying to get everything out, so I apologize.
All right, ain't nothing wrong with being excited. Shout out to the Pointer Sisters. But at the end of the day, how do you, because you do realize Trump is promising to get police immunity in our neighborhoods.
I have no problem with that. I did time. I know what niggas. I know what people do. I love my mama. I love my sister. My mother and my sister got shot by black people trying to rob them and stuff. My mother and my sister. So I have no problem with them giving extra immunity in order for them, because look at the chaos going on. They have to get in. The next president has to get in and rein in everything that's going on right now. So whether we
do you vote?
Not, it's going to happen.
Do you vote? Do you vote? Because you said you've been inside.
Yes. I got all my rights back because of Bush. I got all my rights back, brother.
All right. Well, I do appreciate you coming through. Unfortunately, I got to move on.
Man, Tim, thank you. You did me a favor. Let me come on and talk to you.
All right.
My whole family. I wish they was here. They left.
Well, let me tell you something. It will be on YouTube. You can easily find this broadcast. All my broadcasts are on YouTube right after the broadcast. So appreciate you coming through. All right, moving on to the program. That was a challenge. Right? Listen, at the end of the day, I'm all for free speech. We don't agree on a lot. And I see somebody comment said, embarrassing. That's it. That's unfortunate. Listen, at the end of the day, the man is passionate in regards to his opinion. He's always welcome back on the program. We obviously didn't agree on anything. I mean, he literally was putting Trump above Lyndon B. Johnson in the Civil Rights Act. I've had a lot of strong Trump supporters on that do believe Trump has done a lot for the black community. And even they don't put Trump above giving black civil rights. He's the first person I've seen do that. But he's welcome back on the program. I do want to address some super chats. Name Barber and excuse me. Will G says Trump for Gitmo in 2024. That's not going to happen, Will. Trump is not going to Gitmo, certainly not by the end of this year. I want to, real quick, just in response to that, Will, and thank you for the super chat. Even if Trump loses, you still got that 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. He still has the appeals process and delays and things like that. I don't believe Trump's going to, unless they get him for the 34 felonies out of New York, the rest of that stuff, he has a lot of room to delay. A lot of room to delay. And once he is no longer running for the nation's highest office, it's going to be easier for him to delay it because people are not going to be as concerned with getting rid of him. Some of that was to stop him from being president. So that, just like with Biden, Hunter Biden's laptop, all that stuff is not going to have much discussion at all now that Biden's not in line to be president. Because this is what Trump was saying. You know, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way, so they're doing all this stuff to lock me up and prevent me from running. Well, they were doing the same thing to Biden. What Hunter Biden got charged with, lying on a gun application, that doesn't happen if his dad is not running for president. Right now, if Hunter Biden did exactly what he did back then, the outcry to get him would not, that sweetheart deal he had got that got thrown, that deal would go through now. So at the end of the day, both of them, both Hunter Biden and Trump, some of that stuff is folks going after them simply because they're running for the nation's highest office. Just like once Hillary Clinton is no longer in line for president, all of that locker up stuff, that stuff has went away. They're not after her anymore. They were trying to stop her from becoming president. MAGA doesn't respect the military. I saw that, Will G. Real quick, I wanted to address another super chat. Name Barber says the problem is while we didn't like Colin Powell, he was never discredited based off his politics. We just don't like him talking on back issues. And that's true. That was in regards to my first caller trying to suggest that the liberals hated Colin Powell the same way the right is going at the General Milley and General Kelly. He's right. They didn't. The left did not have an issue with Colin Powell. They just believed he was presenting false information. We're talking about the whole weapons of mass destruction where he's on TV showing satellite photos of alleged tanker trucks that had the weapons of mass destruction. And in regards to the late Colin Powell, he ended up writing a book and admitting that he was forced to go on TV and say that. He knew when he went on TV and said that it was bullshit. He knew it. No different than General Milley and General Kelly coming out and basically admitting they knew when they were in office things were going wrong and they wait till now to speak out. Particularly what General Kelly is saying over the last 24 hours. He should have said that 2-3 years ago. That would have had a lot of weight to it. He should have spoke out and said that. You wait 13 days before the damn election to come out with this. He should have been brought that out. So if it worked, if it helps him, it helps him. If not, that's kind of on him. Now, I did it. He would hold that back, that Trump was praising Adolf till 13 days before Trump may be about to become Adolf. That's insane. Anyhow, going back to the box, he's been saying things before now. He should have been a lot more outspoken, Wins. And I will say this. I get the value, before I go back to the box. Tap the screen, folks, by the way. Get us on up to 50,000. I get that some of these folks are writing books and you want to time your statements to help sell books and be of value. But at the end of the day, it is going to make people think that what you're saying is not credible and you're only saying it because you're selling a book. When you start timing it like that, it looks like you're trying to sell books and people are going to, if you just come out and say this when there's no book being written, it looks a lot more valid. But yeah, when you're saying it at a time when you got money to gain, I understand why people would say something. You're saving it for a book. If you care about the country, do you save it to the point where you can make money off of it? All right, going back to the box, why are people scared of former President Trump? What is it about him that's frightening people? The one and only DJ Julio. Good evening, Julio. Welcome to the program. Trump will lose. He can kiss Kamala's Converse. Shout out to the last dragon, Bruce Leroy. I don't know if Kamala's going to win, though. I don't know about that. Julio, good evening.
It sure don't. Good evening. It sure don't look like she is.
Well, I'll tell you, though, in the 2020 election, and certainly the midterms, the Republicans thought they were going to kick ass in those, too. In fact, the polls before the midterms in 2022 were far more favorable to Republicans than the polls are now with Trump. They were really leading going up into 2022, and that turned out to be wrong.
Well, we figured out what they're doing, and now we're going to make sure that we don't make them same mistakes again. I believe. To answer your questions here, Tim, I didn't think you guys were going to be done talking so quick. I just pulled up to the house. I'm going to run this food into the house, and then I'll come back out and I'll finish the conversation. All
right, I'll bring you back up.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to mute myself for a second.
Okay. All right. I'll give you a couple minutes. I'll go into the comment. Trump is not carrying 50% of the vote in the battle in any battleground state. Trump is not winning, says Adam Castillo. I don't know. I'm seeing polls where he's carrying 50%. Depends on the poll you're watching. Depends on the polls you're watching. Polls are skewed right because the people are likely to answer. Wait a minute. You say now this comes from Jamar. You're saying polls are skewed right because the people more likely to answer are older, right-leaning. I don't agree with that, and I'll tell you why. Particularly in the era of Trump, because he is so controversial. I think there's a lot of MAGA that are hesitant to walk up to a stranger and tell them they are MAGA, because a lot of people hate MAGA. A lot of people hate Trump supporters. Now, you know, the average citizen might not have no problem bragging that they're MAGA, but if you're MAGA and you're in a big city, most MAGA in big cities are not coming out and admitting it. So I think it could be just the opposite of what you're saying. That's why Trump often performs better than the polls, because a lot of people don't want to admit it. Now, if you live out in rural Alabama, yeah, you'll wear Trump gear all the damn time. But if you MAGA and you're in Chicago, you're probably not going to go around saying it. Julio.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, just like if you
know, and that's why.
Go ahead.
And that's why I said, you know, we're all done. We're talking now. Everybody's starting to talk. People are starting to come out of the closet finally, so to speak.
Yeah, and God bless those who have come out the closet in years past. I gotta say, Julio, if Trump wins, I don't think these are going to be good for the LGBT community.
See, and I don't think he's gonna fuck with them at all, except for the fact that he's gonna keep men playing sports with men, biological men playing sports with biological men, and biological women with biological women. I don't even know if he can do that, but I don't think he's gonna fuck with them too hard. Being honest.
Well, just like with women, Trump will say, I love women, and I didn't fuck with them either. I just gave it back to the states. If he gives LGBTQ rights back to the states, it is the states that are going to fuck with them. Remember, right now, Trump supporters don't believe he fuck with women either. And look where they're at.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. But then there again, that's where we have real democracy. My state gets to vote on what we want. Your state gets to vote on what you want. And the popular vote in that state will win. You know, it's not like the national elections. Locally, we decide what we want. And if we have 15 people that want LGBT stuff and are real loud about it, they're not going to win. But if we have a 50-50, there might be some play for them.
Yeah, but then the question becomes, what else might states not like that we've gotten used to? Fact is, if I am LGBTQ right now, and I know I'm going to get treated equally in all 50 states, and Trump comes in and he refers things back to the states, and suddenly maybe 10 states are treating me like shit, did I not lose some things? I mean, I had all 50 states treat me equally before him. Now after him, I only feel safe in 40 of them. Did I not lose something?
No, you're absolutely right. You know, and that's where it becomes important for us as individuals in our communities, you know, to make it normal and be able to have, you know, opposing conversations with your family or your friends about political shit. That way you can get your perspective out there, and hopefully you can turn people towards you, because if that's what you really feel and it's coming from the heart, your mind is out of it, you haven't thought about anything anybody else has told you, it's coming from the heart, you're probably going to make the right choice every time.
Yeah, but the problem is right now, you don't have to do all of that if you're part of the LGBT community. Once Trump gets in there, you got to go through all this process to basically you got to do all of this stuff just to be where you are right now before him.
Right, but look at where we're at, Tim. You know, we're in some states we're allowing boys to go to girls' bathrooms. We're allowing boys to play women's sports. You know,
where is that happening at? I hear that all the time. Where are there actually schools where biological boys? I mean, is there even 10 athletes out there like that? Why is that coming up so much?
I'm just saying the availability is there for it.
Okay, so
made it okay.
So what are we doing?
Those people are not playing sports. Those people are attending music festivals. They're attending mushroom parties. They're not voter type people. They're starting to be, which is scary. But
no, that's not what I'm asking you. What I'm asking you is this a case of minority? I don't know if you've ever seen the Tom Cruise movie Minority Report, where they would act on crimes proactively. Is that, and all of the things that's going on in this country, is this whole transgender playing for the wrong team? Are we acting ahead of time before anything is actually happening? Because I don't know many schools in America where they're claiming this is actually taking place.
I hope so, because I really, now I've gotten no more young kids. All my kids are adults now. My last one just turned 18 last week. But I've got grandkids, and I sure as hell don't want to be in the mall. My granddaughter's going to the bathroom and watch a man wearing a dress walk into that same bathroom where my granddaughter's at.
So let me ask you this.
I'm not okay with that because naturally it's not right. As much as they want to say that it's non-binary or that they say, listen, I love you all to death. And if you have friends and you are transgender and you're listening to my voice right now, I want you to tell you I have zero issues with you. Zero.
I don't. Let me ask you this. Which one do you believe is more, I guess, harmful to the person? A child in a bathroom that sees someone walks into the bathroom that is of the opposite gender, maybe even sees their genitals, for God's sakes, and the damage is done to that child, or a woman that is sexually abused and forced to carry the child and deal with it for the next 18 years. Which victim you think is being abused more?
Well, you're talking to the wrong Republican for that. You know my stance on that. I'm about them. I'm not Charlie Kirk. I like him. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not Charlie Kirk. I believe in the circumstance. I wouldn't want my daughters to have a baby by an uncle or by a stranger that without permission. I wouldn't want that for my children. So we've had this conversation. I stand for the reason.
Well, the reason why I'm asking you that is because the child going into the wrong bathroom and seeing the gender of the opposite sex is something we're passing laws to prevent, even though it's actually not happened yet. But the woman being forced to carry a child that was forcibly put in her, the right is fairly calm about that, and that actually is happening. There are real world examples of that. There's no real world examples of the stuff. You guys are upset about something that may happen in the future, but you're admitting which is more harmful. There's very little. Go ahead.
I know what you're saying. Let's not be naive. Just because you don't hear about it doesn't mean it's not happening. 90% of the news in this country is liberal. If it's harmful, they're never going to put it out there. Especially if nobody was assaulted by it.
I'm talking about right wing. I'm talking about right wing news, Julio. I'm talking about right wing news. I'm saying if you watch Fox News or you watch YouTube, Megyn Kelly or a host of right wingers, they're making a big fuss over the fact that children may go in the bathroom in the future and see the wrong gender. They're not saying much at all about women that are actually being sexually assaulted and forced to carry kids. That's happening now. That ain't something that may happen in the future. That's happening right now, and they don't see on right-wing media. They're not complaining about it at all. Why is that?
Well, I can't answer that, and I'm with you. I'm caught up to what you're saying now, and they should be talking about women who are in states or in counties or country or in the country that are forced to carry their rapist baby or their incest baby. I believe that if it was really, if even that was really happening, I listen to a lot of MSNBC. I want to understand where your guys' rhetoric comes from. I want to understand why you think Donald Trump, not you personally, but why you think Donald Trump's a threat to democracy, and I've yet.
Well, wait, hold on. I think when you say you want to find out why liberals think Trump is a threat to democracy and you have yet to find out anything, I think it's because when the things are presented to you, you kind of skip over them. I mean, okay, if he says I'm gonna be a dictator from day one, well, that's a joke. I mean, he said quite a bit of things. You just kind of attributed to, well, it's taken out of context, or he didn't really mean that, or he was joking about it.
That's not a joke. He meant it 100%.
What is that? Why do you need to be a dictator?
Because if you're not going to let me shut the border down through legislation, I'm going to shut it down. Period.
So
when he said that, just so that there's not miscommunication through the site, when he said that, you and I both know that he was talking about the border and he was talking about shutting it down. And if I have to, I will be a dictator for a day, and I'm going to shut the border down.
So we're okay with
I stand by him with that.
Okay, fair enough. Just like there's a lot of blacks that may say, well, if you're not going to give blacks reparations, I'm going to be a dictator and give them the money anyway. You wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't favor that. Why are we going to let the president circumvent the law because they're doing something we want them to do? What happens when the next man does it? Well, if you guys are not going to let this happen, I'm just going to do it on my own. That is being a dictator. That's exactly what that is. That's what a dictator does.
True or false? One of the main jobs of the government is to protect its citizens. Yes or no?
True.
Okay. So he's shutting off a border to protect his citizens.
Okay.
What's wrong with that? He's protecting us. He's doing his freaking job.
I'm not arguing with shutting down the border and protecting American citizens is doing your job, but hell, they didn't even hold on, wait a minute.
Doing Tim right now.
They didn't even give African American civil rights without going through Congress. I mean, Kennedy could have said, well, if you're not going to treat black people fairly, I'm going to go around and be a dictator. We didn't even get it that way. So, no, you got to go through the process.
We're in a different world. We're talking about things that happened 60-some years, or back in the 60s. I mean, listen, Tim, I sympathize. I empathize. I'm more compassionate about that subject than most of the subjects because I too am a colored person.
How about we come? Okay, hold on. How about we come up to modern times? Let's come up maybe to the Rodney King case where he's on TV they're beating the shit out of him, and they let those folks off. Would you have been okay if the president said, "Well, if you guys are not going to find this guy guilty, I'm gonna throw him in jail"? Or even with the whole George Floyd thing, they took well, if you guys are not going to arrest him, I'm going to send my people. Would you have been okay with that, where the president goes around and just does what he think is right?
What they did to Rodney King was absolutely immoral. Immoral. Absolutely, I would have been okay with the president stepping in and saying, you guys need to re-prosecute this case.
No, not re-prosecute. Just throw him in jail. I mean, if you guys are going to, because they prosecuted him. They prosecuted him and found those guys not guilty, which is the system. You don't have double jeopardy. Once a person is found not guilty, you have to leave them alone. But let's say the president said, well, if you guys are going to let this guy go, I'm just going to send some military and have him arrested anyway. Just circumvent the whole process, throw out the Constitution and do what he wants.
Nowadays, with the hate crime laws and all of that shit, and humanitarian issues, absolutely, that would probably
no.
That would probably happen.
No, notice what you said. You said hate crime laws, which mean they went through the process. What Trump is talking about doing is not going through the process. He's talking about He's not even talking about passing any laws. I'm just going to go and do what I want to do and be a dictator on day one. He's not even going to wait till there's any laws. He's just going to do what he wants to do.
In order to protect the country and my people, absolutely.
Okay.
There's nothing unconstitutional about that. And you know, going to your main question, that's why people are afraid of Donald Trump, because he's going to do what's best for America. For once, we have a politician, a businessman, a man who gives a shit about the country, and under God we trust. And he's going to do everything that he says he's going to do. And a lot of people don't like that because it's going to ruffle a lot of freaking feathers. When those lists come out, when all of those lists that him and freaking JD are going to release.
List of what?
All the Epstein lists.
Oh my God.
All the other shit. Man, I'm telling you, it's liberal. Everything liberal. Handsome Tim.
I'm listening.
Think about it. 90% of entertainment is liberal, if not 100%.
Okay. What's your point?
A good majority of those people on the liberal side were found to be on that island.
You know,
including the prince. Or now king, whatever he is.
Here's my problem with the Epstein list and this stuff, is that we have this belief that, okay, because Trump got pictures and video with Epstein too, but he's not on the island.
Parties with them. We know that.
Okay, so how do you know Trump didn't get involved?
Because these are business dinners. These are business.
How do you know that? You think P. Diddy didn't have a freak off after some business meetings? What does that got to do with it?
Sure.
Okay, so how do you know that?
Just the moral fiber of who he is as
what
a person.
The hell is that? The moral fiber
of who Donald Trump is doesn't allow that.
Have you met the man? You related to him?
Yeah, a little bit.
The moral fiber. This guy has been unfaithful to every wife he's had. That's the guy, the moral fiber you're talking about?
I mean, we are men. We are human. Desire and lust.
Oh, we human now.
Shit is out there.
Oh, we human now. All right, I get it. Well, let me just say this in regards to the Epstein list.
Good.
The issue.
I've told you this before, and I want to.
The moral fiber. I ain't never heard that before. Keep going. Moral fiber.
Do you think I'm a man of morals?
I don't know you well enough to say. I think you cool dude. I like you, but I don't know. I don't know what you're doing on the side. I don't hear your wives divorcing you, claiming you was cheating on a bunch of them. Julio, your signal's gotten weak. I may have to move on. All right, we're moving on. Julio, always a pleasure, but you're dropped out. And me and Julio go back, so don't make no mistake about it. The guy's welcome on the program anytime. But I did find what he said to be humorous, and he said the moral fiber. I mean, I would dare say there are more people who hung around Trump saying negative things about him than Charles Manson. I mean, even Adolf, for all of what Adolf was accused, he didn't even have as many of his henchmen doing tell-alls and said. I mean, there's a lot of people that hung around Trump that are going around saying negative things about him. Moral fiber. That was humorous. Real quick in the comments, I want to respond to a super chat. Moral fiber. Did I miss a super chat? What the hell's going on YouTube? I do apologize for you folks if I haven't got to it. Like I've been saying, Trump was always ahead months ago. And look, well, Trump may be ahead. Like I said, I don't know because the polls have been close this whole time. And the polls were not close when Trump was running against Biden. So it's clear something happened because the polls are viewing Kamala different than they were viewing Biden. The polls are saying Trump was beating Biden. They're not saying that about Kamala Harris. So there is a difference there. I may have to reset YouTube for some reason because it's not, I had this problem at a YouTube program. The polls are not that close. The media keeps saying that it's not. Well, I will say this, and I see in the comments, First Watch says, I'm your favorite bad MAGA. First Watch, you're always welcome on the program. Let's go with the notion that the media leans more left than they do right. And I see your comment, June Bug. I'll respond to that in a minute, June Bug Lynn. And thank you for the super chat. Let's say the media leans more left than right. I'm not going to disagree with that because I believe that's true. More media leans left than right. And absolutely so under the Trump era because Trump has said so many awful personal things about many members of the media. You know, everybody from George Stephanopoulos on down, Trump is criticized personally. So the media was already leaning more left than right, but it's gotten way worse under Trump because he's pushed back and fought back and said so many awful things. Which the point I'm getting to is perhaps because a lot of the media don't want Trump to be reelected either. Maybe they are telling us the polls are close, even though Kamala Harris may be out front to prevent people from getting complacent. Because if there are going to be voters that are going to sit out and not do their civic duty, it's going to be more liberals than Republicans. Primarily people of color. People of color are known for sitting out elections, especially black males. Black males are known for the hell. I didn't even start voting until I was in my 30s. So it does happen. We don't get energized to vote. I mean, for the most part, the system has been against African Americans for so damn long. Our grandparents and stuff like that, the emphasis was not as strong because at the end of the day, we're only gonna go so far. I mean, only in recent times have there's been an emphasis of going to school and getting educated. You were just gonna come out of school and be a factory worker. That was all that was available to you. No need to get a college education. Nobody's gonna hire your black ass. So. But that's changed now. Now you're starting, as every election goes on and on, you're starting to see more African Americans participate. And of course, more African Americans are educated each go round than ever before. So I do believe it could be a possibility that the polls may be saying that just to prevent people from being complacent. And I will tell you this, I watch a lot of right-wing polls, election time, and some of those sites on YouTube. They're constantly telling the MAGA folks, these are right-wing polls, they're constantly telling them how they're winning, shocking new polls, Trump is going to trounce. And you see in the comments, a lot of MAGA saying the same thing. Don't get complacent. Don't believe this until you see it. They're saying the same thing. Don't just tell us we won. But there are right-wing sites operating for clicks and support, just telling folks what they want to hear. So it happens on both sides, but I do believe that most media lean left. Junebug Lynn, and by the way, tap the screen, folks. Get us on up to about 60,000. We can make that happen. Trump stating that he is willing to use the military against his perceived enemies is dangerous rhetoric. The man's narcissism is dangerous. That's a great point, Junebug. And when I had my last guest on there talking about people believe Trump is a threat to democracy and he hasn't seen it yet, I was trying to, in my mind while he was talking, come up with quotes. That would have been one of them. And like I told him, there are reasons people think Trump is a threat to democracy, but if you support Trump, you're just dismissing that stuff. Such as that, him talking about using the military against enemies from within and then naming senators and things like that. Nobody else is talking like that. But if you support Trump, how are you taking that out of context? He's just joking and all that. So, yeah, and I've said before in the program, and I'll go to the box. I've said before in the program that, okay, let's say Trump isn't going to be a threat to democracy. He's just going to be a fantastic president, do his 4 years and leave. Fair enough. But if for some reason he does try to be a threat to democracy, he does try to be a Democrat, or a dictator rather. Let's say for shits and giggles, Trump does try to be a dictator. Not saying he's going to do it, but let's just say for some strange reason he does. There is one thing you can tell the American people. It's not like he didn't tell you. It's not like he didn't give you any hint and he just did this shit out of nowhere. I mean, then all of a sudden, all of them quotes, all of them sayings and clips will start coming to life and the rest of the world will look at us and say, how could Americans be that fucking dumb? Because on paper, he has said a lot of things that lead you down that path. We just are dismissing all of it. But I mean, if for some reason he got in there and did it, yeah, that would be one thing. You can't say he didn't tell you. I mean, because there are a ton of quotes he said, up to and including some of his right-hand men like General Kelly and General Milley. I was watching, and I know you folks have I know my MAGA side has no tolerance for this, but I'll bring it up anyway because it's free speech before I go to the next caller. Watching The View, I watch a lot of right-wing, but I do watch some left-wing shit, and I watch The View. And they have on there, I cannot think of the woman's name. She is a Republican. She used to serve under Trump. Anybody who watches The View knows who I'm talking about. She's the woman that sits to the far right, really attractive girl. She used to serve under Trump. She was on his administration. And she stated today on that show, Anna, it ain't Lopez. No, she's not the Hispanic lady. She's not Hispanic. What is the girl's name? I can't think of her right now, but anyhow, she stated today on the program, not Anna Navarro. Anna Navarro's not the one I'm talking about. She's a young, attractive woman in her 30s. She also is on CNN, but she used to serve on the Trump administration from 16 to 20. And she was one of the ones that worked directly. Griffin. Alicia Griffin or something like that. Attractive woman. Anyway, she stated, how many of us have to tell you, this is her quote, how many of us have to tell you that this guy is bad news before you'll listen? We worked with him. I mean, now that we got General Kelly said it, she said this. She's like, how many of us that used to work with him have to tell you this before you'll finally listen? It was a compelling argument. I mean, so like I said, we don't know what Trump may be a great president, but I do have to point that out, is that if for some reason he goes south, it ain't like you didn't have warnings. You will never be able to say, well, we didn't know this was coming, because you're going to have all of those members of his administration talking about, I told you. All right, continuing on with the program. Most people that get fired aren't happy with the employer. That is true, but not so many. Not so many people. I don't know. I mean, every president fires people. I don't know of any other president that has had so many people come out and say this stuff about him. So I don't know. I don't buy in the notion that everybody that gets fired is going to go around saying awful things about you. That's a bit much in my opinion. Continuing on with the program, though, and appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. DJ Big Dollar, good evening. Welcome to the program, DJ. How are we feeling about Trump winning? I'm feeling like it might be possible. Richard Dunhill, feeling like it absolutely might be possible. It is what it is. That's how the process works. DJ, good evening.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. What do you think? You think that these folks that work with Trump, that are all saying this awful stuff about him, they're just making it all up?
I think the amount and the number and the intensity of these people, they feel the need to speak out. You're talking everybody from chief of staff. I think, all the people around him are saying the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So, that just adds more evidence that those people are saying it. Those are the people that know him best.
Right.
And when they say these things, the people who don't know Trump, that they're misinformed, they don't even know what the words that come out of his mouth are saying. Those people are not telling the truth. When they're the people closest to him, it just doesn't make any sense. It just logically doesn't make any sense.
But let me ask you this. J Baby on YouTube, good point, says, dictator my ass. We had 4 years with no problems. How do you respond to folks who say there's no way he's going to be a dictator? We had him in office for 4 years already. If he was going to do that, he would have did it then.
It's self-inflicted ignorance.
Mm.
We didn't have any problems under Trump. That is just straight out misinformation.
Well, then give me some examples.
Admit, how many people did he fire? How many incidents did we have with them? The Muslim ban, for example.
But that's not that's not acting like a dictator, though.
Making a ban against a religious group is not acting like a dictator.
Well,
come on. Yeah, this is where I call you out on that. That's bull.
Well, it's not acting like. I'll clear it up. It's not acting like a dictator. I guess it would be like racism or religious discrimination.
It's persecution of it's a persecution of a particular group.
Yeah, it's not good. I'm not saying it's good. I don't know if it's dictator-like, but it is. It's a really bad thing to do.
That's a form of fascism.
Yeah.
It's textbook. It's like one of the tenets of fascism.
Yeah, but okay, then so
that's that, and fascists tend to be dictators.
Okay, then how about Lars? Lars Bambi on YouTube is also saying, okay, when it comes to the dictator thing, Trump can't do that. He's saying there are checks and balances in place. So even if he wanted to be a dictator, appreciated JPT Farms. I had mustache. Thank you. He can't do it.
They said the same thing about him. They said
you're going in and out. Maybe he had a call. All right, DJ Big Dollar apparently had a call. I will say this in regards to that comment, that he can't do it, there's checks and balances in place. While there are checks and balances in place, politically, you're not going to get credit for that. You know why? Well, remember when Beto O'Rourke yelled out, you're damn right we're going to take your AR-15s? What happened? He's only a governor. He was running for governor of Texas. Now, he lost big time to Greg Abbott, but he was running for governor. He wasn't running for this national federal position. He's running for governor. What happened to there are checks and balances in place? He can't do it. I didn't hear anybody on the right saying that. They were saying don't vote for his ass because he's going to interfere with your Second Amendment rights. So I just want to point that out for political purposes. If you say something that people vehemently disagree with, they're not going to be taking it apart and saying, well, yeah, it's awful, but he can't do that. A lot of folks do this in defense of Trump. Yeah, he wants to get police immunity, but he can't really do that. You knowing damn well you're not going to do that on the left. If Obama talks to Joe DePlumber and says, society would be better when you spread the wealth around, no one on the left, nobody on the right is going to say, well, you really can't do that. No, they're going to call him a fucking socialist. So when Trump starts making all these wild statements, he's going to kind of get held to the same standard. Nobody's going to dissect what he can and cannot do. They're going to hold him accountable to the statements he's making, just like the right would hold the left accountable. Bernie Sanders made a whole bunch of statements that he would not be able to do as president. They held him accountable for saying them, though. So, yeah, if Trump talks about giving police immunity or something like that, you're going to hold him accountable. First watch in the comments, simply typing LOL you lying is meaningless. We're covering a lot of topics on the show First Watch. I have no clue what you're talking about. You got a lot more room to type more than that. And I'm willing to concede issues when they don't go in my favor. You think I'm lying? Feel free to call me out. You know we don't block, ban, or censor anybody. You know the program is MAGA friendly. That's how we run. Free speech. MAGA friendly all damn day. But if you're going to be critical of the host, give me some meat on the bread so I can actually bite into it and have a conversation with. Just simply typing you're a clown, you're a libtard, that doesn't do any damn thing. You got free speech on this program. Use it. Anyhow, continue on the program. 9 dead, 11 wounded in Chicago. What does that say? 9 dead, 11 wounded in Chicago this weekend. Steve, a couple of things before I go to the next caller. 2 issues. First of all, why is any president, particularly Trump, thank you, Mike the Sailor, yeah, appreciate the added mustache and the support for the program. Why is any president, and Fuzzy W, thank you for the subscription, friend of the program, appreciate it. Why is any president promising a lower crime? Now, Trump, when it came to abortion, is boasting about we're going to return rights to the states. We're going to take it out of the hands of the federal government. So what is he saying? He's going to put crime fighting in the hands of the federal government in Chicago. So in one case, he's going to give the states more power. And then in the other case, it's going to be big government. There's nothing Trump can do about inner city crime in Chicago unless he goes around the states and does it on his own, which could open up Pandora's box for the future liberals, where they may say, well, if you can go around the states for what you think is right, so can we. So I don't know what he's promising to do there. But in regards to your comment, Steve, about 9 dead, 11 wounded in Chicago, while it's awful and I'm from Chicago, it has a lot of crime there. It's political. It's political. Because if you Google the top 10 most violent cities in America, Chicago's not even in the top 10. It's not even in the top 10. The right goes after Chicago because it is a great liberal target. It has ties to Obama. It always has a liberal mayor. It's in a liberal state. They've had a history of tough gun laws. So it makes her a good whipping boy. But cities like Chicago, or cities like St. Louis, rather, that routinely ranks far more dangerous and violent than Chicago, well, there's no tough gun laws in St. Louis. There's no tough gun laws in Memphis. The governor of Missouri is not a Democrat. Governor of Tennessee is not a Democrat. So it's not a good target. Let's stick with Chicago. But Memphis, Little Rock, Baton Rouge, Jacksonville, there's a whole lot of cities in Republican states that have a more violent history, more violent occurrences than Chicago. And you don't hear the right, you don't hear nothing about them on Fox News, or the right-wing media. They won't bring them up because to bring those cities up, you got to start talking about, well, the governor of Tennessee, the governor of Florida, the governor of Missouri ran on reducing crime. Why do you have the nation's most violent city in your state? Well, don't talk to me. You better talk to the liberal mayor in that town. Yeah, but you ran for governor promising to bring down crime. So it's a talking point. Anyhow, going back to the box, real quick. Wait, what does it says? Wait until you lose a family member. Randy, I don't know what that means. I don't know what relevance that has to the conversation. Continuing on though with the program, King Finn. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Why are people so afraid of Trump? What is it about Trump that people are fearful of? The top 6 gun cities are Democrat. Yeah, well, and that's a good point, Coach X Gen X. Yeah, you're never going to hear a city, a top city in terms of violence being Republican because you don't have big cities run by Republicans. Out of the top 50 largest cities in America, only like 9 of them are ran by Republican mayors. So of course all the violence is going to be under Democrats. They don't trust a Republican to run a big city. You got to go all the way down to like Oklahoma City, which I think is the 15th largest city, before you find a Republican mayor. I think Dallas, the mayor switched over. He was a Democrat and he switched or something like that. But for the most part, most of the largest cities are going to be diverse. You're talking about a large city in this country. It's generally going to be diverse. And the Republicans have a huge problem with diversity. Diverse environments don't go Republican. That's something between the Republican Party. Why don't diverse groups like you guys? But yeah, you're always going to have the most violent cities in Democrat areas because they're not going to vote in a Republican. Go figure. Texas Mom 05, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's try that again with my last guest. I don't know what's going on with the box. So try once again with King Finn. But if a female doesn't want it, she can have it killed. Should women get all child rights? You know, the issue with that is, I get hang on a second, King, but the issue is, before we start talking about, you know, it's wrong to take the life of the unborn and that baby had, what about the mom? I mean, you do realize that's doing all kinds of things to her body. You do realize women die during childbirth. Are we not concerned with her at all? We make it sound like it's focused on the baby didn't do anything to deserve this. You do realize that things can happen to her doing this. It ain't like giving birth is not like hocking up a loogie. Things can happen to her. So, you know, should a man have a say-so in it? I mean, you understand what I'm saying, King? King Finn, good evening.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of problems. What's going on, man?
Hey, not
it's
much
a lot of problems with those statements. I just, you know, I'm not finna go there. I'm going back to your original question because.
Okay, well, before you do that, let me get, hold up. Before you do that, I see in the comments, what you want is saying God is Lord. Let me tell you, you got the wrong live stream. You want the smaller one down the block. King Finn, talk to me.
Really? You gonna serve them up like that?
Hey, it works for Kamala. It works for Kamala.
I seen that little commercial.
Yeah.
I seen that commercial. Okay.
Yeah.
I see how you try to slice and dice. It's all good.
Hey.
I mean, I can see where you would come from with that, but I don't think I'm gonna pull what everybody else would. She didn't mean it like that.
Thank you. Took it out of context. Yeah. Well, you know what I would say? She was hosting a rally.
Like that.
Yeah, she was hosting a rally. She was focused. Somebody yelled something out. She didn't hear what they said. She just thought they were a heckler, and she made her statement. There's no guarantee that she actually heard the words they were saying, because she was talking when they said that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
maybe they should have tried to heckle her at that point.
Right.
He was just taken out of context, right?
Right.
At least she didn't say no crazy shit like he said. Okay, yeah. She didn't jump up and say people are eating cats and dogs and shit. She didn't say that. She didn't say, hey, you might have had a wrong rally. I don't think, she could have misunderstood the situation, right? But the right would instantly say, oh yeah, she's against Christ. And the commercial that I heard somebody over on here the other night saying that they found that commercial where all of the guys stood up for Kamala was so disgusting, and it was so just totally politically motivated. I think that commercial where they took that in a contest at the Kamala, unfortunately, I got to say this word, rally, because it should have been a town hall where she speaks. Yeah. Nobody started doing rallies until Trump started doing his quote unquote rallies. Yeah. However,
I don't recall
what she was saying.
Yeah, I don't recall them ever referring to Obama's gatherings as rallies it wasn't called a rally until he started doing it. Wonder why is that?
None of them. They weren't called rallies.
Yeah. So what do you think? Why are people so afraid of Trump?
I don't know nobody who's scared of Trump. The right wingers.
Well, they think the guy is going to.
I don't know no Democrat that's really scared of him.
If you think the guy is a threat to democracy and is going to take away people's rights, yeah, there are people who are scared of him. They're saying he's dangerous. People are saying that.
No, I think what we're mistaken is, and this might just be in my opinion, and so I will say those words. We're mistaking fear for him with the fear that there are going to be some dummies that follow him. Oh. Because overall, he can't do anything by himself. But he can do it when he has the right people in place to do what he want to do, as we've seen with Roe versus Wade. He can do what he wants to with that because he has the right people in place. So, yeah, a lot of stuff that he's talking about, that Project 2025, I'm not going to go into all of that. I'm just going to say those are things that we are not appreciative of. Just being a person myself, I'm going to speak that for myself. I don't appreciate none of that shit. You can keep all of it.
So
I would like to live in a world where I don't have to think my daughter has to be scared to be pregnant, because if something happens, she might not be able to get a abortion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Things like that are the things that I worry about. That whole man in the girl's bathroom shit. Dude, how many times have you... How many times, even as you as a kid, did you always go into the correct bathroom? I found my grown ass maybe a year or two ago walking into the wrong bathroom and had to turn around.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
I'm a grown ass man. And I look at the right and no, I had to pee. That's what I was looking at.
Well, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, in my humble opinion, that the whole transgender thing is just hate. Because it's not just a bathroom, it's not just playing on sports teams. When that transgender person got a modeling contract for what was it, Miller Lite or Bud Light or whatever that beer can was that Kid Rock was shooting, there's no kids being affected by that, and they were outraged. I mean, really, they want it's mainly the transgender crowd right now, but they used to be the same way about the gay crowd. But right now, they really want the transgender people to kind of just go away. They don't. I mean, it is hate. They just calling it everything else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
That's
exactly what it is. For me, I feel like it tends to me, seem to be the same ways that affirmative action thing or the DEI hire shit. You know what I'm saying? It's just a way to call it, for the transgender or LGBTIQ. I'm sorry, I don't know the whole letters and all that.
It's too many. LGBTQIA, and I stopped there.
No respect taken away.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say this though.
Joke, nobody in no game.
Yeah, I gotta say this though, and I consider myself to be an ally in the community. That community, particularly the transgender community, has made things hard for liberals because they've become a real good whipping boy. There are plenty of people that are voting simply based on concern with transgender becoming part of society. A lot of people are voting strictly. That comes up, considering how rare it is to deal with transgender people. That comes up, I would say I have probably 1,000 times more conversations on transgender people than I actually see transgender people.
You probably do.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want you to consider is the misogyny of the whole situation. There are black men out there, and they won't say this to your face. Some of them will, but most of them won't. That they just literally are voting for Trump because Kamala's a woman.
Yeah. Ain't that what Obama talked about? Isn't that what Obama talked about?
Main problem.
But isn't that what Obama talked about?
Well, I mean, I've seen it. It is exactly what he was talking about. Yeah.
But let me say this. But here's the problem I want to ask you, King Fan, because I don't think men of color would be voting for Obama. I mean, better yet, voting for Trump over Michelle Obama. I think it's something about Kamala Harris that is not resonating with men of color. A lot of people don't find her to be authentic. I think that.
Nah. I would be able. I'm gonna push back on that. I'm gonna play devil's advocate about that.
Sure.
If it wasn't just because it's Kamala, just because it's Kamala? Because you had a lot of black men pushing back about Hillary Clinton too. That was not
they didn't find her to be authentic either. They didn't find her to be you talking about Hillary Clinton? She went on the Breakfast Club and she's talking about she keeps hot sauce in her purse. Hillary Clinton wasn't authentic either.
Man, that's. Black men literally were not voting for her because she's a woman, bro. I know one, and I just had to look at him and just be like, really, bro? Like, that's the only reason.
So let me ask you this.
The only thing he can say is the same spewed Trump shit because he's just off of Fox News spewing out the same nonsense.
So you believe that if Michelle Obama was running for president, black men would not vote for her and they would vote for Trump because she's a woman?
Yes, I do.
I don't believe that. I don't. Okay, yeah, you might, maybe some.
I don't think that's just because it's Kamala. I don't think it's just because it's Kamala. I think it's because a lot of black men are scared or feel fearful or not, ready for a woman president. And you know what? This is exactly what I told this person that I'm talking about. Hey man, you can believe how you want to, but when it comes down to it, it kind of comes to what it was before. The devil that you do know for the devil that you don't. I know about Kamala. I did my research. I've seen, her cases and the case files and all of the nonsense y'all want to say about she helped, the 3 strikes law and all of the death row and all, she's the worst. Listen, keep all of that mess. I know she knows politics.
Yeah. I don't know.
She's a strong, independent figure, and I know she knows politics.
But what about the notion that Trump has a record to run on, that many folks believe Trump was doing a good job, and Kamala really doesn't have a solid record of significance?
you want to say that, let's address the two things that they're talking about. They're talking about their 401ks and groceries. Neither or has anything to do with Trump's term. None of that have anything to do with him. All the money that they're talking about they paid for gas back when Trump was in office was because of OPEC. OPEC set those prices. That's not because of Trump. No, he doesn't have a damn thing to do with OPEC. No, he can't change the price of gas. No, he can't change the price of groceries. Stop thinking about it from a level of your pocket and think worldwide, globally. The prices are coming from the companies.
Yeah,
the manufacturers, the farmers are not getting what you think they're getting for that $5 head of lettuce. Stop being stupid, people.
Bro,
damn.
That's where I give Trump credit, is because them rallies where he talked to the people. If you had more folks on the left maybe saying what you're saying at gatherings, you would have less people being stupid. Fact is, the whole time Trump has been the only one in their ear, and and folks believe what he's saying because he's the only one that's been talking to them.
I agree.
So
I agree. That doesn't make it correct information.
No, but it might make Trump your 40.
In fact, it just says the opposite.
Okay, it doesn't make it correct information, but it means Trump might.
With correct information.
Yeah, but it might make Trump your 47th president. I got to move it on, King Fan, though, but 13 days. 13.
Good night, bro. Peace.
All right, appreciate it.
We'll see.
All right, 13 days. Soon it'll be 12 at midnight. Junebug Lynn says, get us off of fossil fuels. Climate change is real. Yeah, but so is greed and politics. It's going to be real hard. You know, I'm a 50-year-old man, a couple of years after turning 50, and it's going to be hard. I mean, Big Oil has a lot of money, a lot of political prowess, and they can control a lot of purse strings. I mean, we should have been much further along in terms of getting off fossil fuels than we are now. There are people out there, I don't know if this is true or not, but there are people out there that believe people have developed engines that could run damn near off of water. And Big Oil has bought the patents and squashed them so nobody would know about it. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know Big Oil is looking out for Big Oil. So it's going to be difficult to do what you're suggesting, Junebug, to get us off of Big Oil. Climate change is real. Because not only is Big Oil fighting to keep Big Oil, and I see people in the comments are agreeing that did happen. And somebody said the guy came up missing. He came up with a patent to run engines off water and his ass disappeared. Damn, that's terrible. But anything's possible. But I will say this, though. In addition to getting us off of fossil fuels and, like I said about Big Oil, you're saying climate change is real. You also got half of the country on the Maga side, on the Republican side, that are denying climate change as well. So you say, get us off of fossil fuels, climate change is real. Well, you got Big Oil fighting to keep us on fossil fuels, and you got the right fighting against the notion that climate change is even real. So it's going to be hard. I don't think it may not happen in our lifetime, to be honest with you, unless some other country goes so forward with it that they show us the light. But America's not leading the way in that area. I think Germany and Brazil, some of those other countries out there are moving much further in the direction you're talking about. There's too many people in America that are pushing to keep us on fossil fuels and telling us climate change is not real. The goal is to enable Trump at all costs, says Will G. True, but the liberals were doing the same thing. I think many folks on the left knew Biden was out of his mind, or at the very least incapable of doing another 4 years. And the left, including Kamala Harris, were enabling Biden, trying to prop him up for another term. Biden should not have ran for a second term. So I get your point, but I will say that it happens on the right, on the left as well. Great stream. Ooh. Sid says, great stream, Tim. Appreciate the support, Sid. Thank you. Thank you. In the trenches as usual. I do appreciate you being here. Will G says, they don't give a fuck about the mom. The kid is a new tax revenue. I don't know if it's because of, having babies creates tax revenue or children that can work or whatever. But I do agree with the fact that a lot of these folks that are pro-life, certainly when it comes to not even having provisions that the mom's life is in, they don't give a fuck about the mom. I agree with that 100%. I mean, show me where if you're going to force somebody who's been sexually assaulted to have a baby, show me where you care about them. I mean, whoa, Texas mom. Got your boy all nice and toasty. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Yeah, if you're going to force a woman that is sexually assaulted to have okay, are you going to at least pay for her mental health treatment that she might need, looking at this kid, this product of somebody that was forcibly on top of her? Are you going to help her with the medical bills now that she don't been raped? Now all of a sudden she got to lose time off work and all of that for something she had no part. You going to just force her to do this because you want to say to baby, all of the negative aspects that she must endure. I don't hear the right saying they're going to step up and help for any of that. I mean, a woman could lose anywhere from 6 weeks to several months off work after giving birth. Are you going to cover any of that? No, we just want to make sure the baby's born. So I agree with that, Will G. No, they don't give a fuck about the mom. I don't disagree with that. I see in the comments says there can be caveats in certain abortions. Well, it should be law. If you're going to pass a law, Naeem, appreciate that. Oh, you're on this side. If you're going to pass a law to make her have the children, you should pass a law to help her out. No, the having of the children is forced by law. Helping her out is optional. Well, we'll send her to the church down the street and have her collect donations from there. You ain't doing nothing for her at all. So, yeah, no, I agree with the notion that they don't give a fuck about the woman. That's true. Bullshit, Obama over everything, says Will G. Oh, my God. Let me go back to the box. Texas mom. Thank you. Naeem Barber. Is Texas mom in there? Good evening, Naeem. Appreciate you holding on.
Hey, man.
Hey, what brought you in this evening?
Hey, I've been watching your program for a minute. I'm always on YouTube, so I decided to switch over for a second.
Good to hear you. So what do you think? Is it, in regards to what I was just talking about, is it a case where they truly don't care about the mothers?
I mean, I don't think they could really. If you look at it, how they do things is they pretty much block abortions and then turn around and then don't help support the mothers afterwards. I couldn't see them possibly caring about them.
Yeah.
You know, they want to disband Department of Education and like what's going to happen to all the kids in public schools. So I don't get it.
So you heard me ask it earlier. Now, Trump has an economy to run on. Trump has a government to run on. A lot of people favor that government, which is why he's highly competitive and even leading Kamala Harris in some of the polls. So I'm going to ask, why is it that with Kamala Harris having virtually nothing to...
Sorry, that's my daughter.
Yeah, with Kamala Harris having virtually nothing to run on, why is she competitive with Trump?
I think she's competitive with him mostly because a lot of his accolades are a lot of myths mixed with him talking. So people tend to just kind of believe it. Like people talk about the no wars or us not really being involved in any like activities overseas, but they forgot that he single-handedly vetoed a bipartisan act to kind of get us from messing with Yemen, and then the illegal assassination of the Iranian general. So it's just like...
But that wasn't a war, though. That wasn't... I mean, he killed an Iranian general, but Iran didn't strike back, really, so that wasn't really a war. They just took it on the chin.
But that still could have led to conflict, and we were still involved with Yemen.
Yeah, but compared to what's going on now, that was incredibly mild.
I mean, are we comparing, or are we saying that it didn't happen? Because they're not saying that there was little. They're saying that it was none. And that's not true.
Well, any conflict with Yemen is essentially nothing. I mean, Yemen is like the whole Panama thing that happened under Reagan. I mean, that's I don't know. To me, comparing that to what's going on now it's not even the same universe. I mean, we could take care of Yemen in probably a few hours.
I mean, I agree with that too. That it's not, but I'm just saying, when you're saying none and little, they're not the same thing.
Right.
It's not saying that there's little.
Right. I see somebody in the comments referencing your child in the background from the old movie. I think it was The Running Man, or was it it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I got 5 kids to feed, man. What movie was that, from the 80s? I got 5. You may not be old enough to remember the movie. That was a Schwarzenegger movie. I don't know if it was The Running Man or the one he was on Mars. Get your ass back to Mars. But Total Recall. That's what it was. Total Recall. So, but at the end, I asked the question also though. Why do so many people fear Trump? A lot of folks have said that he's going to destroy democracy and all. Do you believe there's any validity to that?
I mean, destroy it, not really. But at the same time, it like you were saying earlier, you really can't let him speak and say stuff and hear things that are like kind of fascist, like, and then turn around and be like, why are people scared of it? Like, they're scared of it because he said it. And we're not going to sit here and mince words with like jokes and, oh, he was just playing around, because not everybody particularly likes him. So nobody's going to lean towards him and be like, they give him the benefit of the doubt like Maga would.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good answer. And by the way, before I go into that, for you folks who enjoy free speech, I always ask, follow the program on TikTok. We'll be here every day until Election Day. Subscribe on YouTube, if you will. We're for free speech. Everybody gets to speak. You don't have to agree with any damn body on the program. But I do agree with you, Name, that you can't fault people if they're making their conclusion based on what you're actually saying. I mean, you get up there and say, I want to be a dictator on day one, and then you get mad when people say you want to be a dictator. That doesn't make sense. I mean, these are words coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, unfortunately, people, that's just how it just kind of is. People talk about, like, I think you always bring up Beto O'Rourke, how he was talking about the guns, and it's just like, he said it. So I get why people got upset with it. I can't tell people not to believe what they heard, because they heard it. So however they wanted to take it, it was his fault for putting it out there like that and not conveying it in a way where they couldn't misconstrue it.
Yeah. And it's not like he comes back later and clears it up. Most of the time when Trump makes a controversial statement, MAGA or other Republicans in Washington are the ones that clear it up. Trump leaves that out there. I mean, Trump doesn't clear it. Everything from locker room talk on up. MAGA and other Republicans cleared it up. Trump never clears that stuff up.
Yeah, I forgot what the comedian is, but he was like, who you gonna believe, me or your lying ass eyes? Like, if I saw it, you're not gonna sit here and tell me that I didn't see it. I watched it.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, though, do you feel that Kamala Harris would make a better commander-in-chief than Trump after Trump's been in there for 4 years?
I mean, it just depends on what you want. For me personally, yeah, I think she would. I think Trump causes a lot of division. I feel like he doesn't aim towards a lot of bipartisan things getting done. And the truth is that most legislation is passed through bipartisan action. You need both people. But if we're consistently pushing just one agenda and we're not leaning towards concessions or other things, bills don't get passed. Actions don't happen. You get a bunch of executive orders that are going to get overturned when the next guy comes in. And I think that's where, like, a lot of MAGAs, they don't think about stuff like that. They don't think about that a presidency isn't like a role that one guy just has and all of his ideas keep going. The next guy has to come in and he has to take over from there, and legislation that's not passed, nobody cares about that after that.
No. You raise a good point, and I brought that up before because a lot of folks point out that under Trump, Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin weren't doing anything because he was visiting them and he was talking with them and trying to, and I say the same thing. He didn't get any treaties accomplished. So the minute he left office, they went back to acting an ass. And I said the same thing. What you're saying is if you don't get anything in writing or get any deals accomplished, all it is okay, things are calm for the 4 years you're in office. That ain't saying you want things to be calm long after you're gone, not just for the 4 years you're there. Any dictator like Putin or Kim Jong-un, they can wait 4 years. That ain't that long for those guys, especially Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un is probably, what is he? Is he even 40 yet? I mean, the guy's going to be around probably for another 20, 30 years. He can wait 4 years. That ain't saying nothing. He's going to be leader for life.
Yeah, I mean, that's an issue that people tend to forget when he was talking about, like, Obama, about all the executive actions that he passed, and people were all pressed him, like basically saying like he was a level of dictator in chief. But the real reason why the Republicans didn't like too much stress his executive orders is because the moment that their guy got in, his went out.
Yeah. Do you see the country being more unified under Kamala Harris than Trump?
No, not really. I mean, to be honest, it's like the people who believe Trump is a better choice, they're not going to go away just because Kamala Harris is involved.
Right.
It's not. So it's still 50% of America that's looking to vote for him, or around that number. It's roughly around that. Like, he's going to win by 50%. I think it's like 10 to 11 million people who are going to vote for him. They're going to still be there to support him when it's over with. They're going to still feel like their guy should have won, and Democrats going to feel like their guy won. So it is what it is. But there's still going to be a division. I think the acceptance is just going to happen when he's no longer a viable candidate, because we know he's not good at picking replacements.
Yeah. Well, I don't think even MAGA disagrees that Trump is not good at the HR. And when it comes to who he hires, yeah, he probably needs somebody else. He's not good. Well, this go round, you'll probably had the likes of Steve Bannon or somebody doing more hiring than he did last time. So we'll see. Yeah, go ahead.
They don't care either. It's not like they care that he's bad at it. They just care that he's the one doing it. Because they'll just hand wave away every bad decision or every bad person he puts in a role, and then try to pretend like, well, they were always bad. And even though he put them in a position to be bad at their job, they're going to be like, we all hire bad people sometimes. And even though I think somebody just said like 92% turnover rate.
Damn, 92? Wow. Who was left? His daughter?
She's not coming back.
Yeah, your daughter and Jared, them the only ones. 92, was it really that bad? Damn. All right, Naeem, I got to move it on, but damn, that's 92%. Appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you.
Good talk. Thanks for coming on this side, too. Appreciate it. All right, moving on with the comments. No, he didn't hire loyalists the first time, which is the right way to do it. No, it's not. Facts only. You're saying no, he did not hire loyalists the first time, which is the right way to do it. No, this is like you see some of the folks who, let's say like an athlete that makes a ton of money, that constantly gets in trouble with the law. Maybe they're getting them on sexual assault charges, or he's getting DUIs and things like that. You wonder, like, you got all this money. Why the hell you out here getting these bullshit gun charges and just ruining yourself? You don't need loyalists around you. You don't need yes men. You need somebody that's going to tell you, you've had enough. I'm putting you in the car and taking you home. Don't go to the strip club. These chicks they ain't here. They don't mean you're no good. They're going to try to rip you off, or they're going to end up getting pregnant and coming at you for this is the problem with Trump, is that you're talking about he did not hire loyalists the first time, which is the right way to. No, hiring loyalists is not the right way to do it. Because if the president gets in there and makes a mistake, which any human being can do, I'm not just saying Trump, but any human being can make a mistake. A loyalist is not going to correct you. A loyalist is going to just let you do it. And I see in the comments, facts, you said, that's what I would say. Yeah, that's the problem, is that it does sound like Trump may be seeking to hire loyalists this time. And yeah, that, in my opinion, would make things worse, because the loyalists are Lindsey Graham or somebody like that. You put Lindsey Graham or McCarthy, folks that are going to just say yes sir no matter what you do. Mike Pence was not a loyalist. If Mike Pence was a loyalist, Biden may have never became president, and Trump would not have had to prove that the election was stolen from him. He would have just said it, and that would have been it. I mean, so yeah, loyalists. I don't think any president should be seeking loyalists, but Trump was doing that. And this, before I go back to the box, and tap the screen, folks, get the likes on up to about 80,000. We can make that happen. What General Kelly is stating here is an example of Trump seeking a loyalist.
And the all-important rule of law. Watch this.
Did the former president appreciate the Constitution? Did he appreciate any of these things?
No.
He expected the people that worked for him to break the law?
Well, when he would give, and I think I've told you this many times, when he would tell me that he wanted to do something, 100% of the time I check with the White House counsel, because oftentimes he wouldn't have the authority to do what he wanted to do.
When he was confronted with the fact that he couldn't do something legally, did he want to do it anyway?
He would try to make the case that he did have the authority.
Now, what he is saying is very important, because he's saying Trump was giving him orders where Trump did not have the authority, And he says, I'm trying to go back to the other screen here. He says that, well, when he would give, and I would think I've told you this many times, when he would tell me that he wanted to do something 100% of the time, he said, now, this is what General Kelly said. He said 100% of the time, I checked with the White House counsel because oftentimes he would not have the authority to do what he wanted to do. So Trump was trying to do things beyond the scope of his power. And John Kelly, General Kelly here, was checking with the White House counsel to verify if Trump could do it or not. And when he found out Trump did not have the authority to do it, he would go back and tell Trump he couldn't do it. Now, he's claiming that Trump would push back and say, yeah, I could do it. At the end of the day, he didn't get to do it. Now, if Trump hires loyalists, that loyalist is not going to do what General Kelly did. They're not going to check with White House counsel. They're not going to push back and say, sir, you don't have the power. They're just going to do it. They're just going to do it. That's the problem. It could end up being an administration. What do they often say? It's forgiveness is often far easier to obtain than permission. Sometimes it's easier that's for forgiveness than permission. We're just going to do it, and then we'll deal with the fallout later. But you see what he is stating, that 100% of the time, I checked with the White House counsel because oftentimes he would not have the authority to do what he wanted. I don't think McCarthy or Lindsey Graham or some of them folks, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't check. They would just do it. Looking in the comments, Kamala was not a loyalist to Biden. Kamala was not a loyalist to Biden and covered for him. Well, is Kamala Harris a loyalist to Biden and covers for him? She did lie about his health. We could argue that, but Biden isn't known for giving really controversial orders. So we don't know. Now, what Kamala Harris did on Biden's health, that's not a crime. So we don't know if Kamala Harris would be a loyalist of Biden because there's no case where Kamala Harris was given an order that was illegal, that we know of at least. Whereas in Trump's case, I mean, starting with January 6th on down, you know it happened because his own people is ratting him out. So I don't know if you can put Kamala Harris in the same category. I don't think we know for certain that Kamala Harris lied about in terms of the Biden administration. It's making it sound like he was healthier than he appears to be on TV. That's it. That's not a crime to do that, though. Looking at the comments, we don't want to go down that road with Trump. Charles Vaughn, could be. We shouldn't have to have guardrails around the president. You will now, and I'll go back to the box shortly, but you will now, Trina, you said we shouldn't have to have guardrails around the president. I think that Trump has exposed so many loopholes in our system. And remember when Trump became president, the whole drain the swamp, and then when he failed to drain the swamp, a lot of his supporters said, well, he exposed a lot. Well, he exposed a lot of loopholes that favor the president in our system too. I mean, nobody ever thought about the notion that a president could run even if he's indicted with crimes that are somewhat treasonous. Just says a witch hunt. Nobody ever thought about a president running for office as a convicted felon. Nobody ever thought about a president running for office while incarcerated. These are things we've now thought about under Trump. Not saying he's guilty of any damn thing. What I'm saying is we never ever considered this stuff before Trump has come along. He has exposed a lot of weaknesses. He has exposed that if you're a felon, you can run for office. If you're indicted for crimes against the country, you can run for office. If you're incarcerated, you can still be president. If you commit crimes while president, you can actually pardon yourself. I think most Americans have never thought about this stuff. So we can say Trump is innocent, and maybe he is. We'll see what happens in court. But I'm just simply saying he has exposed a lot of loopholes that nobody ever thought would come up. And I do believe in regards to the claim that we shouldn't have to have guardrails around the president, you will now get them. In the future, once Trump is out of the picture, I think you will get bipartisan support. When I say bipartisan, I mean the right and the left will agree that under some of these circumstances, you can no longer do that. I mean, you can't be in jail and run for and be president at the same time. I think won't even be up for discussion anymore. If you're convicted and locked up, you can't be president. Just like when Trump was trying to get Mike Pence not to certify the election. Once again, he exposed something that nobody knew. Now they have since passed a law that makes that clear. You can't do this. So I do believe you will ultimately get a lot of anti-Trump laws coming down the pipe, and they will probably end up admitting these are anti-Trump laws, because fact is, that's the only reason you have them is because Trump showed you might need them in the future. Will G says it would be funny if the Elon sweepstakes are a sham and all the checks bounce. Well, the checks are not going to bounce, but I've been watching a lot of media, and that question comes up over and over again, certainly on the left, because they don't like Elon. The question they've been asking many lawyers is what he doing illegal? I have yet to hear one lawyer that definitively says it's illegal. So apparently it's one of those laws, like I said with Trump, exposing something, because what Elon Musk is doing is borderline paying for votes. I mean, he's paying people to sign a petition. Let's say I want a petition on, I don't know, let's say a black person wanted a petition for reparations, for instance. You start offering on $1 million raffle, you're going to get a lot more people to sign that. Even in a white community, you start offering $1 million raffle, I'm going to get a lot of signatures. I go down to rural Alabama. If I'm talking about go to a trailer park full of folks got Confederate flags and every damn thing in their window. But I tell them you're going to get $1 million, you could potentially win $1 million. I'm going to get a lot of signatures in that area for reparations. I mean, at the end of the day, the money ain't coming out of their pocket. So, yeah, to me, what he is doing is really, really skirting on the law. I suppose technically it's not illegal, but damn is it the morals of it. I mean, and I will tell you this, I think the right would go apeshit if somebody on the left did something like what I'm saying to get a petition signed. Let's say, Tyler Perry or Oprah or some wealthy black person started giving people $1 million to sign a petition. Maybe let's say they want to take down a Confederate statue in the area, and they're starting to give. You got a town with maybe 50,000 people in it, and they come up with 30,000 fucking signatures because they don't give $1 million away for the last 3 weeks. The right will go apeshit about that. You bought the signatures. That's what he's doing. Elon Musk is buying those signatures. If there's not a law against it, it should be. Junebug Lin, the 2 members of the Supreme Court could step down in the next 4 years. Could democracy survive 2 more Trump appointees? Yeah, if we end up with a solid 6-3 majority on the right, or even 7-2, because it could be a 7-2 majority after Trump, democracy would survive, but we would be far right. We would be a far right country. Like right now with Oklahoma forcing kids to read the Bible, some of the things you're seeing right-wing states do might become federal. I'm 100% certain a 6-3 solid Supreme Court majority, I think getting a federal abortion ban is far more likelier than not. That's not going to stay at states' rights. The evangelicals did not fight to overturn Roe v. Wade for it to remain legal in like half the states. They're fighting for they want to save the life of the unborn. They want to save those kids in Illinois, New York, and California too. They don't just want to do it in the Bible Belt states. So yeah, I really believe that if you get another Trump term, that's going to go federal. And I don't think anybody on the right is going to be bitching about the fact that they said you would not have a federal abortion ban, and then it became, at the end of the day, it is saving babies. Women should just keep their legs. So that's what would happen. If they go from a states' rights abortion ban to a federal one, you're not going to have any allies on the right. So for all them folks telling you, well, he's never going to do that, he's only going to keep it at the state level. If he does do it, none of them folks are going to be on your side. At the end, they are saving lives in Illinois now. That's how it would be. A very dead horse, don't know you, but I've never said anything bad about a boss who fired me. LOL. Also, Trump isn't getting locked up, even if Biden wants him to be. I don't believe Trump is getting locked up. But and thank you for the super chat, a very dead horse on YouTube. You said you're making a sarcasm. In other words, you've said bad things about bosses that locked you up as well. He favors Hitler? No. I'm going to assume Obama, Bush, Reagan, they all fired people in their administration. It ain't never went this bad. So the idea and not to mention the sheer number of former Trump appointees that have said something bad about him. So I think it's more than that. I know folks that want to support Trump is simply trying to say the reason all of these people are writing books and saying bad things about Trump is because he fired them. All of these highly respected people, highly respected generals, and all of them just decided to do this because he fired. No, not all of them. I can see if it came from Omarosa or maybe Scaramucci. Generals and shit like, no, I don't buy that. Will G, one way or another, Elon is keeping or getting that money back. Oh, shit, Elon makes that money back in interest. Elon probably makes damn near $1 million every few days in interest. He ain't losing shit. Not to mention tax write-offs and all of that. And that's even if Trump loses. Going to the box, the one and only, appreciate the subscription, Texas Mom. Good evening, Texas Mom. Let's hear from the ones who speak highly of him. Texas Mom, good evening.
Hi, how are you doing this evening?
Good to have you. Appreciate the support. Now, you're supporting Trump, right?
Yes, I'm a Democrat, but I went Republican 2016.
Perfect, because I see in the comments, one of my viewers said, let's hear from somebody who speaks highly of Trump. Why are you voting for Trump? Give me your opinion. What makes him a better commander-in-chief?
Because I think his policy on immigration is good. Even though
Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that.
Now, my husband is Hispanic. We paid $15,000 to get him legal. I do feel Trump's policy on immigration is the right way to go.
Let me before you give me the second one, and I'll let you continue. But let me ask you in regards to that immigration policy. Do you support him threatening to get the Haitian migrants out of the country that are here legally? Because you mentioned your people came here legally. Those Haitian migrants leaving a war zone, they are here legally. Do you support him kicking them out of the country?
No. If you're here legally, you have the right to be here legally.
Okay.
What he's talking about, or what I'm interpreting him to be talking about, is the illegal immigrants that are here illegally. The problem with the problem that we have with our immigration is that when they come seeking immunity or asylum, there's only 3 to 12% of everyone that's entered into the country is actually granted asylum.
Right.
So now, if they don't show up for their court, then they are here illegally.
True.
If they don't get processed and granted, then they are here illegally.
True.
So I feel that we just need to reform our immigration laws. And no one is even talking about reforming immigration.
Well,
but to have a better control on immigration, it is better under Trump than Biden-Harris administration.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I certainly agree that under Trump, you would get the border under control far more than under any liberal. And I've said this before because I believe personally that Trump is so gung-ho on securing the border. He's willing to break the law to do it. So you're not going to get any liberal that's going to come, even with Obama being a alleged deporter in chief and all the folks he separated. Trump was going to be more effective on the border than even Obama because, like I said, he's talking about shooting them in the leg and building a moat and putting dangerous animals in there and Muslim bans and, drowning devices in the water. So I do believe you're going to get more security on the border from Trump than anybody else because, yeah, he's willing to use lethal force to secure the border.
And also with the Biden-Harris administration, when Governor Abbott asked for help, they refused. They sued. They tried to sue us in Texas.
Yeah.
Because they refused. Oh, we don't have a border issue. No, there is a border issue. We see it all day, every day, or we did. They had 3.5 years to get it under control. They refused. And you're going to sit there and take your administration and sue a state that is trying to protect themselves and their constituents? And you're talking about dictatorship? Come on now.
Well, all right.
You're not doing anything to protect your constituents that put you in office. You are saying, okay, y'all are stupid and we're just going to let everybody come on through. The hell with what you have. The hell if they tear it up. The hell what you work on a daily basis to buy.
Well, let me ask you something. Let me ask you something. Now, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Like I said, I do believe that the right is going to be much better on border security than the left. Because, like I said, Trump will go to the point where it's I do, you probably would disagree with me on this, but I do believe some of the border security on the right is also a product of hate as well. So I do believe you're going to get more security. But one of the things I want to ask you is this. If the border is so out of hand, why is it that back in January of this year, when they finally came up with a border bill, they shot it down and left the problem as bad as it is for almost another year? Why wouldn't they fix it? Even if it's late, even if Biden has dropped the ball on it, because a whole year of leaving it like that, you got to assume millions more have come across. Why would they leave it that way for another year?
Because the bill that they had actually did us no good.
How so?
Because they wanted to allow 5,000 to come in a day.
How many are coming in now?
Less than 5,000.
So
right now.
So the border's been somewhat under control anyway, is what you're saying.
Well, when you have anywhere from 5,000, it used to not be that many come in. But now that they've seen that the problem with the border is when Trump was in office, there was still a crisis, but not as bad as it was now. Now they all flooded in as groups, as train loads, as caravans. They all flooded in.
But okay, hold on.
There was nothing done by the Biden administration other than letting them in.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that Trump claims that there's like several million coming over here per year or something. I forgot what number he said, but 5,000, even at that, because at a certain point. Go ahead.
That's in a day.
Okay, so that's like 20-some thousand in a week. Trump is saying it's millions a year. Even at that point, it's nowhere near what Trump has been saying.
Yeah, but they was wanting to send money to Ukraine, they was wanting to send money to all these other places. And what they did is when they separated the bill to have just a single bill, they was only going to allow, I think, 17 million to go to the border.
Yeah.
When you're sending 60 and 80,000 to Ukraine,
yeah, but
it makes no sense for us as American citizens for us to have that done to us. Now you sit and take the.
But hold on, Texas mom. Texas mom. They threw the bill out because of the Ukraine and money going to Israel and stuff like that. You do realize that when they threw there was three things in the bill. There was money to secure the border or whatever they were going to do for the border. There was a bunch of money going to Ukraine, and there was some money going to Israel. Out of those three things, guess which two they're still doing anyway, now that you threw the bill out? Money is still going to both of them. So what you threw it out for actually continued happening, and what you wanted is the only thing that stopped.
Yeah, but even though we didn't get the border bill passed through, because the Republicans was going to decline it anyway without Trump saying anything.
There
was already congressmen talking on a Sunday before Trump even knew about it that they was going to downshoot it anyway because of the way it was stated, because of the way they was going to allow stuff. That's the reason why they shot it down. Trump can sit there and say that it was because of him, and it might have been a little bit because of him, but the Congress has already stated before he came into play that they was going to shoot it down.
Well, it ain't Trump necessarily that said it was because of him. It's Republicans in Congress that have said it was because of him. A few of them came out and admitted it.
Yeah, but there was one Republican that got a phone call on Sunday, and he was in Congress, and they did an interview with him, or they was doing some kind of congressional meeting, and he sat there and stood up and said, I got a phone call on Sunday. I had already talked to other congressmen that were Republican, and we were going to throw it out before Trump ever said anything to us.
Well, and I don't know if that's true or not, but in my
like I said, that's what he said. I wasn't there. I don't know.
So well,
about what was stated in Congress.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this in defense of Trump. The folks who support Trump, they're not going to admit that Trump, who is only a citizen of this country, convinced them who have been voting in to work for their constituents, let an outsider that's currently just a citizen change their mind. Of course, they're going to say that they were going to do it anyway, because that would look bad for you to, if I vote you in to be my congresswoman, and he's a citizen sitting in Mar-a-Lago, and you actually took his advice, and you're supposed to be working for me, not him. So yeah, they're going to tell you that we were going to do that anyway. I mean, that makes sense.
Now, come on now. This is a political play.
Yeah. And
we all know Trump is more than just an everyday citizen. Come on now.
Right.
We are not that stupid.
But he wouldn't.
As much as you liberals want to think that the Republicans are that stupid, we're not that stupid.
Right.
Come on now.
But he wouldn't be an everyday. He would be just an everyday citizen if you weren't giving him power.
Trump is never going to be an everyday citizen. Ever. Because he's already held office. He is never going to be an everyday citizen. Do you think Barack Obama is an everyday citizen?
No, I don't. You make a point. I get your point.
Come on now.
I don't know if Barack Obama's interfering with legislation, though. I don't know. I haven't heard even the right. I haven't heard them accusing him of doing that. So I mean, you got folks.
You don't think Obama is not behind the scenes with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
I don't think.
Oh, come on now.
I'll tell you this. I don't hear any of them saying it. The fact that Republicans came out and admitted that Trump was behind the scenes controlling it.
You're not going to hear the Democrats say anything.
I don't know about that.
The Democrats are not going to say nothing.
I don't know about that, because I tell you this. I think Republicans are more loyal than Trump than Democrats are loyal to Obama or Clinton. I think they're far more loyal to Trump.
And they probably will be. They probably will be. Because Trump is not a regular run-of-the-mill politician. When people look at Trump, they look at him as a business owner, as an actor, as a politician. They look at him in every aspect. He has been in the limelight since when? How many years has he been in the limelight?
Going back to the late 70s.
To the late 70s. And as in the late 70s, he was an asshole then, and he's an asshole now.
And you get to no argument from me there. But the crazy thing is he doesn't have to be.
He's the same. He has not changed.
So let me interrupt and say this. Now, I asked you to give me some reasons why Trump's a better president. We had a long talk on the border. By the way, I agree with you. We have a different avenue to get there. I do believe a lot of it is Trump is going to break the law to secure the border, and a lot of it's based on hate. But at the end of the day, the border gets secure. Give me something else about Trump that makes you believe he's a better commander-in-chief.
I believe what he did for Roe v. Wade was the right thing to do.
Elaborate.
Me as a woman, I believe it should be to our states. Our government should never been involved.
Your government. Wait, hold up. You're saying the government should not be involved. Okay, yeah, right. But I mean, your governor is government. It's just a closer government. That's still government, though.
Right. But in the meantime, we would have a say in it, because we will be able to get to vote on it, on how we want it in our states.
That would
Texas has not had a chance to vote on it yet because it has not came up on the books. So until it comes up on our books for us to vote for it, it's going to be the only way you can have one is medical.
Here's the problem with
it comes up on our ballots.
Here's the problem with your statement, because you just said, it should be in the hands of the states and we would get to vote on it. The states are doing a hell of a lot behind the scenes to prevent you women from having the right to vote on it. Ohio, they finally got a right to vote on it, and they voted to give women access, the same thing they did in Kansas. And Ohio is trying to find a way to go around the will of the people. Florida is another state that tried to prevent women from voting on it. If you notice, every state that has a limitation on abortion rights or a ban, not a single one of those states came to that conclusion after having a vote from the people. Every one of those states did that on their own. So what he essentially did was took it out of the federal government's hand and gave it to a bunch of state dictators. None of them want the women to even vote on it. They're trying to prevent the. I would agree with you on states' rights if the people in those states had to say so. They're trying to prevent the women from saying anything.
But they're not going to be able to because it's a hot topic. They are going to have to put it on their ballots to be voted upon. They're going to have to. There's no way of getting around it. The states are going to have to put it on their ballots. Like I said, in the state of Texas, it's not on ours this time, but it will have to be on our ballots.
I hear your point, but I don't applaud anybody who gave my rights to some governor who is trying his best to prevent me from voting on whether I want to have the right or not. And I got to keep fighting with his ass to somehow, some way get it on the ballot. To me, that person is not anything but a dictator. You gave that person my rights? Is now I got to fight against this dude? If, like I said, if it was going to go to states' rights, it should have immediately, every state that got the ban, or what they should have said is we're going to give the states the right to decide, but every state must have a vote before they can actually implement it. Then we might be, we may have a conversation.
So let me ask you a question. Me and you are driving down the road.
Sure.
You are coming toward me, and we're going opposite directions.
Head on.
We have a collision.
Right.
I am now 2 months pregnant. I die, the fetus dies. You were driving intoxicated.
Double murder.
What are you going to be charged with?
And you raise a good point. This is the answer is double murder, but I want to elaborate on that some. This is why I strongly believe, and I push back on folks on the right who says it's going to be at state rights level. It's never going to go federal. I cite exactly what you just said as an avenue to impose a federal ban. If you're going to deem taking the life of an unborn child as murder for an assailant, a drunk driver, or any other example you might use, if when he hits your car and takes your baby's life, if you can charge him with murder, why won't the doctor be charged with murder? Because we can just simply take it to the Supreme Court and show we've already had a number of states that have already deemed the willful taking of a life in the womb is murder. So it's already been adjudicated. If you take the life of an unborn child, it's murder. So at that point, because it's already been adjudicated and people are already been charged with murder, why does the doctor get a pass? If the doctor in Chicago or a liberal state takes the life of an unborn child that was a healthy child, why does he get a pass when the DUI guy doesn't? And once you rule on that, you now have a federal abortion ban. Once the Supreme Court rules that, yeah, you're right, it's murder no matter who does it, then the states that are pro-choice, they lose that ability. Now it's a federal murder beef. That's how you get you don't need 60 people in the Senate to get a federal abortion ban. This is what the right has always said. Well, you don't have to worry about it going federal. You'll never have a 60-seat majority. You don't need it. I just gave you the avenue to get it there. So
because the doctors won't be charged with that.
Why not, though? That's what I'm saying, is that if that same doctor, that doctor can perform an abortion in Illinois and it's an abortion, but if he gets off work, has a couple drinks, and he's driving down a highway and runs into you head on, he took a life, he's taking 2 lives that day. But this one, he gets murdered in this, no, you don't get a pass. If you're taking the life of an unborn as murder, then you don't get to do it in a medical setting. If it's not a necessity. That would be it. You could end with a 6-3 majority. They would easily rule in favor of that. You think they couldn't get that through at this point? 6-3, and they're all of that pro-life that's in the Supreme Court right now. You could easily get that through.
No, because then they would consider it medical.
Medical what?
It's just like because it's a medical, because they're doing it in a physician capacity, not as a private citizen. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't. Because if they're
in the hospital, they're in a hospital setting, and they do the procedure, they do an AB, then they have protection under their insurances and under the guidelines of medical.
They don't.
That's the way it's set up now is they have insurances that secures them from being prosecuted under the murder thing.
Here's why it doesn't make sense. Here's why it doesn't make sense. If once we started deeming that a baby in the womb is an actual child, which is what happens when you charge a DUI person with double murder, now you're ruling that this is an actual child. So if you take your 1-year-old to a physician and say, I want to terminate, you can't do that legally because it's a child. Then you can't do it when the kid is under. Once they start deeming that an unborn child is an actual child, then if it's not necessary, which is most abortions are not necessary. You don't have to kill this kid. Yeah, they go. Yeah, what you're saying? I don't see how you don't get this.
But they don't call it murder. They call it malpractice.
The Supreme Court would call it murder. Just like when they take the life of when that DUI person hits you, it's called murder, is it not?
But they're not suing the individual.
Yes.
They're suing the hospital. They're getting the money from the hospital. That's what I'm saying. The hospital protects the doctors and everything until it becomes a civil. Now you can take them civilly and get your money from them, and then they can. But that's the difference.
Okay, all right. I was just saying I don't think you're understanding my point, so I'll leave it at that. Give me one more before I'm moving on. Trump's a better guy. Give me another policy. Give me another position why you think he's a better commander in chief.
My Second Amendment, my freedom of speech.
You think Trump is better on? Well, first, I don't get either one of these. Okay, first of all, Trump talks about giving flag burners a year in prison. That's already been adjudicated to be freedom of speech, but yet he wants to give you a year in prison for burning the flag. How do you feel about that? That's a clear violation of freedom of speech. Your First Amendment that you just brought up.
But they're already doing that to some cases.
Yeah, but he's talking about giving you a year in prison.
Yeah, but they're already doing that in some cases. And Trump's not even in office.
But he is talking about doing it. The guy who's going to defend your freedom of speech, he is talking about doing it.
Yeah, but who wants to burn an American flag?
People who want to express their freedom of speech.
That's our flag. You should never burn our flag.
Okay. So you're okay with taking away freedom of speech if it's something you agree with?
No, if freedom of speech, you should never torch our flag. Now, you can torch it if it's burnt the proper way. But for you to take it down, put it on the ground and burn it, you should never do that. Okay, I do get them. That's what we stand for.
Okay,
that's our flag.
Everybody doesn't stand for that though, Texas Mom. I mean, some people have a gripe with the country, and I see in the comments someone stated that you never was a Democrat. Now you was a Democrat, you said, right?
I was a Democrat. I voted Democrat all the way up to 2016, and in the primary, I voted for Clinton. And then when it came to election day, I voted Trump.
Pro-Second Amendment. You're pro-Second Amendment, pro-life. You're against flag, but you don't. I gotta say, your policies don't sound very democratic now. Maybe you've changed. I gotta move it on though, Texas Mom.
Yes,
you changed.
I have changed.
All right, fair enough. Thank you for coming through. By the way, appreciate the subscription. Definitely, doors are always open to you. Good talk. Thanks. Anytime. Texas Mom, everybody. Look, at the end of the day, you know what I say. We do have a difference of opinion on this show. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. Who gives a damn? You have the right to be critical of anyone on the show, including yours truly. That's how we run the program. Real quick, if you do favor this type of dialogue, uncensored, nobody's getting blocked, banned, or censored, at least by the host. I can't control the TikTok gods, but appreciate that. Gordon, 777, thank you. If you favor this type of civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle without anybody being blocked, banned, or censored, I'd ask that you follow the program on TikTok, a subscription on YouTube, if you will. Tap the screen on TikTok. Let's see if we can get up to 110K while I answer these brief super chats on YouTube. Real quick, I do want to respond to Will G says, breaking the law is not a flex. that's crime against humanity. And I agree with that. Now, my last caller, Texas Mom, appreciate her coming through. She had a difference of opinion on what I was saying about how to easily make abortion federally legal. Maybe she's right, maybe I'm wrong, but I do believe with a 6-3 majority Supreme Court, I mean, I think he could do it now with Clarence Thomas and Alito, but if Trump gets in, Clarence Thomas is 75 and Alito 74, and both of them are very favorable to Trump. I think both of them, to be heroes or martyrs to the Republican Party, would agree to quickly step down and retire and ride off into the sunset as Republican heroes and let them replace them two with 40 to 50-year-old Supreme Court justices. So now that 6-3 majority will be around for about 20 to 40 years. It's going to be a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court if Trump wins. 20 to 40 years. And I always point this out for folks who are bragging, for some of my Democrats, like my last caller, well, Trump's better at the economy, Trump's better at the border. Understand, if you lean left and you are temporarily going on Trump's side because you don't trust Kamala Harris or you think Biden has done a poor job, you are potentially taking on a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court for as many as 40 more years. To get that $2 gas, right now gas is hovering around $3 a gallon. You're trading in the notion of getting fuel down to maybe $1 a gallon, getting groceries a little bit cheaper, and maybe inflation to come down a little bit for a right-wing Supreme Court for potentially as many as 40 years. Understand that in 10 years from now, nobody's going to be still talking about the Trump economy. We will have had Trump for 4 more years, and we'll be on almost a third presidential election. They're every 4 years. Okay, so 12 years. We're 3 elections down the road. Nobody will be talking about the Trump economy from 2016 to 2020 or from 2024 to 2028. 10 years from now, nobody's talking about that. You'll be dealing with all of those Supreme Court justices and all the rulings that come along with that. Now, if you're on the right, this sounds like an awesome time. I get it. You should be enjoying the potential of a Trump's term. That's your job. I get folks on the right wanting this. But I'm just talking about for folks on the left that are suggesting that right now Biden sucks at the border. I'm paying too much for gas. I'm paying too much for groceries, and I want inflation to come down. To get that, you are potentially taking on a right-wing Supreme Court for potentially anywhere from 1 to 2 generations. And you're going to get a whole lot of right-wing laws and legislation that's going to come with it that a person that is a Democrat temporarily switching to the right to get cheaper gas prices is not going to like. You're not going to like it. So I'm only saying this because I think there's a hell of a lot of Democrats for Trump, blacks for Trump. Fair enough, but I don't think they're thinking of it that way. I think they're thinking of, give me this, put a few bucks in my pocket for now. Okay, all right. Well, 30 years from now, when I'm asking, well, remember back in 2024 when you wanted to save money on gas? That's why you can no longer become that professional job you want no more. That's why they banned you from doing that, or that's why your wife is unable to go to work. This is what happened. Remember, you wanted gas to be cheaper back in 2024. That's what happened. Now, I know I may be speculating wildly. I get that some of my folks on the right might be, you're going way too far. I don't know. Trump may be the best thing since sliced bread, but I just want to say that there are plenty of far-right countries on earth. And there are a few tenets of a far-right country that you generally find in all of them. Number one being, women are marginalized in far-right countries. Most far-right countries marginalize women. They don't generally treat them as equal. I don't know of any far-right country, in fact, that treats women as equal. Also, regardless of what their population consists of, they are not friendly to minorities. Far-right governments are generally, whether we talk about Iraq or Afghanistan or any far-right country, the minority population in those countries generally do not get treated equally. It's far-right. Far-right is also very religious. Most far-right countries, religion is not optional. Just want to point this stuff out. Enjoy your $2 gas. Let me go back to the box, and I see in the comments, MDJ says this country is no different. Hopefully it doesn't get to that, but I'm just simply saying that we talk about far left all the time. We don't talk about the far right. That does exist, though. There is a such thing as far right as well. RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Oprah, Tucker Carlson, My Pillow guy, Elon Musk, Dr. Phil, Obama, and Jimmy Carter in Trump's cabinet. Don? What the hell is that? Jimmy Carter will probably be deceased before Inauguration Day. What are you talking about? RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Oprah Winfrey, Tucker Carlson, and My Pillow guy. Who's that? Mike Lindell, Elon Musk, Dr. Phil. And I think some of these folks are becoming very favorable to Trump. We already know Elon is on Trump's side. RFK Jr. recently became friends with Trump. Tulsi Gabbard is a recent Republican. Oprah Winfrey is not. Oprah Winfrey is not friends with Trump. Tucker Carlson, of course. Mike Lindell has pretty much gave his whole fortune over for Trump. Elon Musk, obviously. And Elon Musk is the world's richest guy, but money is no object to Elon Musk, but he's lost a lot of money affiliating with Trump. It's not going to hurt him. I mean, and if Trump wins, he'll get the space program and the EVs will be. I mean, he'll make a fortune if Trump wins. But right now, Elon Musk has contributed a lot of money, not just the millions he's donated to Trump's campaign. Since he made X a free speech site, almost all of the advertisers have left. They said, I read a Forbes article, his share of X has depreciated 80%. 45 million is where it started. They're saying it's worth a little bit more than 9 million now. Everybody, in fact, I just heard singer Jelly Roll. Some of you folks may be familiar with Jelly Roll, big guy, very country, soulful voice, ex-con. He decided to go get off of X, citing it was too much racism and shit on there. At Jelly Roll. So, I mean, Walmart, they've been gone. So, yeah, 80%. He's reduced the value of X by purchasing it and opening it to without censor, because there's a lot of racism and people are getting killed. I mean, you can see anything on X. In fact, many of the folks who wanted to prove to me that Haitian migrants are eating cats and dogs, they recommended X. They recommended I go look on X and see. So let's leave it at Will G. They say all the presidents are war criminals. Trump will be nothing short with humanitarian crimes. I don't know. What has Trump did that's a humanitarian crime? You'd have to elaborate on that. Name Barber says if Trump loses, seats are going to be loose off that. I don't get that one, Name. If Trump loses, seats are going to be loose. Well, I will say this. Regardless if Trump wins or loses, he's going to cost folks votes down ballot. I mean, particularly in liberal states, you got a lot of more folks showing up and voting Democrats straight down the ticket. There's going to be a lot of Republican senators in Congress. Like, he cost me my job. Even if he wins, he cost me my job because so many people in my area showed up and voted Democrat. All these women voted up, showed up because of him, and they voted me out. Will G says low gas and food prices are a front for Trump to ease into autocracy. Could be. Jelly Roll as if he is racist. I don't quite get that, but Jelly Roll, yeah, he left. Will G says, you say Trump will break the law at the border. Yeah, I do believe that. Going back to the box, I do believe that if Trump is elected, he would secure the border to the point where he would be willing to break the law to do so. Maisha, good evening. Welcome to the program. No one is voting Democrat. Early voting is already tilted towards Trump. I'm hearing that, true patriot. I'm hearing that, but the information changes depending on the network. But I am hearing it because generally early voting, high voter turnout generally benefits Democrats. But I'm hearing a lot of pollsters say it's benefiting Republicans this time. I don't know, but I think the fact that Democrats are nervous and Republicans feel like they got the election in the bag could come back to bite us. And the reason I'm saying is because we could be setting ourselves up. I'll go back to the box. My last guest apparently didn't come up. I'll go back to the box, but we could be setting ourselves up for exactly what took place at the 2020 election. When you got so many people thinking they're in a position where they can't lose and then they lose, they're going to think something wasn't on the up and up. Now, I'm not saying Trump's going to lose the election, but what I am saying is MAGA, for the most part, think it's a guaranteed win. The liberals don't feel that way. The liberals don't feel that way. So if all of a sudden on election day it turns out that Trump has lost, they're going to be citing what the polls were saying we were winning for the last 6 months. You know, all of the polls, they're not going to believe it. And of course, we can depend on Trump to egg that on. So we'll see what happens, though. But I do believe if Trump loses, the right is going, because they believe right now he can't lose. They're going to have an issue with that. Men are already dealing with what? Women having to pay them child support. What the fuck are you talking? Are you talking to somebody else in the comments? Real quick in the comments. No one is voting. I saw that question. How can you be for free speech and not support Musk buying Twitter? Free speech has consequences and limitations. That's what I'm gonna say. We want to talk about how harmful it is for kids to see drag queen shows, but we're okay with some of that stuff because kids have access to a lot of that stuff online. They're seeing that stuff. I mean, Trump was on stage the other day commenting on the size of Arnold Palmer's penis. Kids go to his rallies. Free speech, I mean, like I said, you got a problem when the LGBT community exercises free speech, but when the person on the right does it, the problems go away. I mean, he literally was on stage talking about the size of a late golfer's penis. Kids are at that rally. Kids were at that rally. Going in, and I see parents are responsible for kids. Now that the Trump rally, they ain't responsible. Let me go back to the box. Because everybody was talking about is harming kids. I didn't hear nobody on the right say what he said is inappropriate for my kids that are here. They were clapping and applauding and all of that. The one and only Jeremy, one of my subscribers. Subscribers always get first digs. Good evening, Jeremy. Whoa.
Hello.
Thank you. Who said that? Gordon or something like? Appreciate the Gordon 777. Thank you for the fine jewelry there. Jeremy, what am I getting wrong? Always a pleasure talking to you. Correct me.
Okay. Well, what in specific do you think? Do you believe anyway? Like what? Because you were kind of going all over the place when it came to what you were talking about. What in specific?
Well, the actual topic is why are there so many people that are fearful of Trump?
To be honest, I think it's just because they just have bad information. They're low information voters.
So, for instance, myself, one of my biggest concerns is him promising to give police immunity. Is that due to me being a low information voter?
Again, I haven't heard him say anything about that. Do you have a clip?
Yeah, of course. I don't normally bring this stuff up unless I can talk to you about it. But yeah, he certainly has talked about, and I mean, he said it more than once, but I'll give you, this was one of the shortest clips I could find just to make the program move on smoothly. I played it a lot of times. I'm surprised you ain't heard this.
Become a beacon of hope, safety, beauty, better than ever before. We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to work with Democrat mayors who are running in every instance, running them. Democrat mayors and many Democrat governors. And we're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted for doing their job. We'll take over the horribly run capital of our country, Washington, D.C., and clean up, renovate, and rebuild our capital city.
Okay, then he goes on the line about towns, but he's talking about giving the police immunity from prosecution in liberal cities. So you know who commits all the crimes in liberal cities. So those American citizens are going to be dealing with cops with immunity. How do you respond to somebody that might be afraid of that? Is that low information?
I don't think that's particularly something I would worry about all that much.
Why not?
And the reason why is because, well, first off, Tim, you're not a criminal, so I'm pretty sure you'd be just fine. But also let's just ask this question: what exactly are cops being put in jail for? A lot of times cops get prosecuted and, because they're just trying to do their job as
that's a good point. Give me an example of something that cops are, because prosecuting means they're going to jail. Give me an example of some cops are going to jail for that Trump believes they should not and they should be allowed to do.
Well, I think that stop and frisk is an important policy that definitely.
You're not going to jail for stopping and frisking. You might lose your job, but going through somebody's pocket and running a background check on them when they didn't do nothing wrong, you're not going to jail for that.
It depends. It depends on where you are at and what they allow.
Where has that happened at? I've never heard of a cop going to jail for stopping. If they'll take your job away from you for violating the civil rights, but I've never heard of a cop simply running the cop that's profiling somebody, or because they usually can make an excuse why they stopped you to begin with. You were weaving, or I smell marijuana. I've never heard of a cop going to jail for that. Where are you getting this from?
And I don't have any specific examples on hand, but this is what I'm thinking Trump is trying to get at is that people look at a lot of the places like New York, for example. Look at the people who live there, and look at how unbelievably disgusting it's become. A lot of people don't want to even live there anymore, but they just don't have the money to move out. I
get the notion that some of these liberal cities are overrun with crime. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm asking, what is it that he's wanting cops to do what they normally would get sent to jail for, and he's wanting them to be allowed to do it now with immunity to do so? I mean, I get what you're saying, but that can't be it. Is that, I mean, because like I said, there's not a lot of cops going to jail for stopping and frisking people.
Well, for one thing, being able to use their firearms. That's a pretty good example. Like most cops nowadays will get sued specifically for like wrongful death if they had to put someone down. Do you remember that one former basketball player?
You want cops to be able to get away with wrongful death?
No, I didn't say that they should be able to get away with actual wrongful death, but a lot of times the families will just sue you for that, even if what you did was completely justified by a court of law.
But Jeremy, he said getting sued is civil. He said immunity from prosecution, not immunity from civil suits. He's talking about something that normally would cause a cop to go to jail. He wants them to be allowed to do now with immunity. What is he talking? He ain't talking about suits. He's talking about prosecution. So there's got to be something else there.
Well, unfortunately, like I said, this is just kind of new to me. I'm mostly kind of guessing from what I've learned about Trump in the past, but I don't see him ever trying to give people immunity from actually committing actual crimes. That's not something that I think about.
That's the only reason you're going to get prosecuted, Jeremy, is for committing an actual crime. That's the only reason why they prosecute you.
Not always. Sometimes some people just have a vendetta against you. You can bring a turkey sandwich to court if you really want to.
You really think that the police, because the police normally get the benefit of the doubt. Do you really think police are willy-nilly getting thrown in jail like that in this country for little or nothing? You really think there's that many cops in jail?
I don't know about all the time, but there have been plenty of times where cops have to spend a lot of money in court after they've been brought up there for shitty reasons.
Now, I know there's a Marine that was on a New York City subway, and he performed a chokehold on somebody that was committing a crime, and now he's on trial. But he wasn't a cop. Now, I can see if it was something like that. But I don't know of a lot of cops where people are, even on the right, I watch a lot of right-wing media. I don't know of a lot of cops where they're speaking out and saying this cop was wrongfully prosecuted and they're defending. I don't hear about too many cops that people.
Here's one example. And I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for this. Derek Chauvin shouldn't be in jail.
I knew you were going there. Oh my God. Jesus, Jeremy. It's too fucking late, Jeremy. It's too fucking late. All right. Okay, give me your spiel. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Why do you believe that a man that's on camera sitting on some dude's neck for 9 minutes, a guy that's strong and clearly resisting arrest, he's on his neck for 9 minutes, doesn't get off, by the way, until the paramedic shows up and asks him, could you get off the man's neck now? And it's clearly a lifeless body. Why do you think that dude should not get any jail time?
Two reasons. Number one, he was following exactly in what the police department had told him to do. Like if you look at what the police department actually said about what their training is, it's in their training to do this.
9 minutes. 9 minutes. They train the cops to stab somebody's neck for 9 minutes without checking to see if the body is still moving or breathing. 9 minutes. They train that.
Yeah, they actually did. They actually said you're supposed to stay there until paramedics can arrive.
Really? Just
yeah. Look, there was I think Tim Cass did a good breakdown of this, showing that the policy is that that his specific department had were followed exactly to the letter, and he wasn't dead at like the second that he was on. That he was on the ground. Like they got eventually when they did get off of him, the guy was still alive for a good amount of time. They even opened the door so that way the guy could breathe in the SWAT car.
You're on the neck of a man that is handcuffed for 9 minutes, and you're telling me that's part of the training after he's in handcuffs already to just sit on the dude until the paramedics is coming, which leads to another question. Why the hell do you need the paramedics? Maybe it's because the dude you're sitting on might be dead. Why does the
drugs?
Huh?
Or he might be erratically on drugs, and you're looking to give him like Narcan or something like that.
You realize if somebody's on drugs and you don't treat them at all for 9 minutes, you probably are passing up viable time where you could have brought them back. 9 minutes is a long time to be out. If you show up in a heroin addict or somebody is overdosed or on fentanyl or something, and you wait 9 minutes into the paramedics, that person is probably gone. I mean, you probably let that person go.
The policy should be updated. Here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize about police officers. A lot of them don't get enough training compared to what they need to get. A lot of them do not. A lot of them have to go out of their way, and spend their own money to learn things like jiu-jitsu, which is an extremely effective art in restraining people. Or Greco-Roman wrestling is also really good.
Chauvin was on the department. Wait, you talking about training? Derek Chauvin was on the department for 19 years. He didn't have enough training by then?
And well, even then, a lot of these people do not get the training they need from the department alone. That's the key word, the department alone. And a lot of them aren't even taught about how effective a lot of these martial arts really are. Like, have you ever seen like videos of people getting like trying to be fake tough guys, and then they fight someone who actually knows their shit?
Yeah.
And there's plenty of videos out there showing them in like positions that don't look comfortable, but they're not gonna like crush your lungs or anything like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen any other video where the cops sit on somebody that long. I mean, and by the way, he had backup. You see some videos where a cop pulls somebody over. He's a cop by himself. Sometimes it's a woman, and the assailant overpowers them or something like that, and they have to sit on the person because they don't have enough strength to handcuff. You got 4 of the cops there. I don't see why there's any need to sit on this dude for that long. You got 3 or 4 other cops that are sitting there that are just kind of hanging around watching. Why not hog tie the guy and then put him in the back of the police car on his belly, hog tie? Why would you just sit on dude for 9 minutes? What would be the purpose of that?
Well, the purpose of it is just to make sure that you keep him under control. Remember, the guy who was on, remember, George Floyd was not a small guy. He was a big guy.
Okay. But at what point do you... Yeah, but I get 9 minutes, though. I hear you, but 9 minutes, you got multiple people on the scene. At some point, are you even checking to make sure the dude is breathing?
The only thing that they probably could have done, which I think maybe they probably look at hindsight 2020, is there's a type of restraint bag that you can put over somebody, and it kind of looks like a large trash bag that's white or whatever, and they suck all the air out of it, and it becomes super hard.
Okay, but I want to ask you, you really think that 4 dudes could not take? You think George Floyd was so strong that while handcuffed, he could still take on 4 dudes with his hands behind his back?
You'd be surprised at what people can do, and I'm not even saying that he could. I'm not even saying that they could. I'm saying once they probably figured out, hey, this guy's probably pretty high. The point of what a lot of police do, and this is why oftentimes when one cop car pulls you over, oftentimes you wait a few minutes, a second cop car is going to show up. They're not there to play fair. They're there to win.
I get that, but I get all of that. But you got 4 people on the scene. If George Floyd was so damn strong, you wouldn't have got him in handcuffs. He is in handcuffs already. So at that point, you got 4 people on a handcuffed
People
man.
slip out of handcuffs all the time. Trust me, it happens. People do slip out of handcuffs, and some people just know how their way around it. No, I'm not even kidding. There's so many body cam footage videos I've seen where people actually get out of handcuffs because of how small.
So what are you promoting? The Houdini bill of 2024? So what do you mean getting out of handcuffs? What are you talking about?
I have that idea.
All right, Jeremy. Oh my God. So let me ask you before I move it on though. In your opinion, did Derek Chauvin commit any crimes at all? Did he do anything wrong?
Not from what I've seen. At least he followed his department's rules to the letter. But here's the thing. His department needed to change. His department had a lot of flaws when it came to what they told him to do. And here's something I would actually do if I was Trump. I would actually propose a bill that requires Greco-Roman wrestling or scholastic wrestling to be a requirement in every police department in the country. Because the amount of technique that you can use in there, that it gives you the ability to use that harms people so much less, is unbelievably good. Like jiu-jitsu, Greco-Roman, or scholastic wrestling, any one of those 3 can give you a lot of abilities that other people don't have when it comes to controlling somebody without hurting them.
All right, I hear all of that, but that whole Derek Chauvin conversation, you outdo yourself every time, Jeremy. You definitely do.
I'm your favorite customer.
I don't know. I don't know if you want to eat what I'm serving. Don't come to my restaurant, Jeremy. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you. All right, moving on with the program. And by the way, he's not the only one that believes that. I've had plenty of viewers come on and say that, George Floyd died of fentanyl and things like that. But most of them, while they may not think, because I had some folks on YouTube even saying that, he was not on George Floyd's neck. While many folks may believe that George Floyd died of COVID or fentanyl, most of them, unlike my last caller, do believe what Derek Chauvin did went against company policy. To sit on the guy he's the first person I've ever talked to that also believes that what Derek Chauvin did was what he was taught. I haven't heard anybody else say that. I've heard people say that, look, he didn't kill the guy was on some drugs, or the guy was, died of excited delirium or some of these other ridiculous things. But he's the first person I ever said that, ever talked to that actually said even the neck part was not an issue. That's a first. Will G, Trump allegedly didn't want to pay for a service member's burial because she was a Mexican. I heard that earlier today for the first time, and man, let me see if I think I got a clip of that, because I'm sure all of you folks have not heard that. Now the only clip I have, unfortunately, is from MSNBC, so I know my beloved Maga has no tolerance from MSNBC, but I'll play it anyway because that's where I found it. I don't mind playing Fox News, OAN, or Newsmax clips either. I'll play from where I find it, but this one I heard on I heard it on some YouTube show, by the way. But when I came to start the program and do my research for the live stream, the only place I could find it was on MSNBC. So here goes.
New stories just today. The Atlantic is out today with a new article quoting more of the racist, reprehensible things Donald Trump says behind closed doors, including comments about a murdered Army private. I remember this story. In 2020, Private Vanessa Guillen, the daughter of Mexican immigrants, was killed by another soldier at Fort Hood in Texas. And at the time, then President Donald Trump publicly offered to pay for her funeral. But when the bill came,
I'll pause it. And he posited him saying Trump offered to pay for her funeral, which was a good thing. But I agree with you in the comments, Billy Wap. No, Fox News is not going to air this. I agree with you. Fox News would not play this.
Trump publicly offered to pay for her funeral. But when the bill came, according to this report, Trump was furious, telling his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, quote, "It doesn't cost $60,000 to bury an effing Mexican." He turned to Meadows and issued an order, "Don't pay it." Later that day, he was still agitated. "Can you believe," he said, according to witness, "effing people trying to rip me off?"
Now, I would defend Trump a little bit on this. I mean, your comment sounds deplorable, to quote Hillary Clinton. But the suggestion is that Trump offered to pay for a Hispanic that died, I guess, in a line of duty or whatever the case may be. And he later found out the funeral cost came up to 60 grand. And that's where he came up with it doesn't cost 60 grand to bury an effing Mexican, which sounds racist. I get it. But if I had to, somebody said she was murdered. Okay, fair enough. I didn't know how she died, but I will say, well, they just said it, but I will say this though. Sounds to me like you ever had somebody, wealthy, take you out to eat, get whatever you want. You buy the most expensive shit on the menu. Now, while what Trump said sounded damn near outright racist, he does have a point. Why did it cost 60 grand? It doesn't cost 60 grand to bury a Mexican. I mean, I just want to say this one right here, if it is true, while they are trying to make Trump look bad, man, I mean, Trump is a businessman. He pay attention to the bottom line. I know I'm going to sound like I'm defending Trump on this, and to some degree I am. If this is true, yeah, that's the quote. It doesn't cost $60,000 to bury an effing Mexican. Why did it cost 60 grand? I'm just going to say, if that's his quote. So I don't know where the 60,000. Now I see some people saying it's not true. I don't know. It don't cost 60,000. Somebody say yes, it does. No, it doesn't. It shouldn't cost no 60 grand to bury, put somebody in the ground. No. That to me sounds like somebody wealthy offered to pay for the services, and the family may have because of that chose the most expensive shit on the menu. Just like the restaurant example I used. Whereas, somebody decided, well, shit, if he's going to pay for it, let's take advantage of it. I understand a little bit of anger about that. I now the whole effing, that part sounds racist, and I get it, but I understand how the hell, I was willing to look out for it. Why does this cost so damn much? Back in the day, my dating years, I remember dating a chick in Dallas. I don't want to call her name. Who knows? She may have, a lot of my old people have found me on this site, but took out the Red Lobster back when, your boy could barely afford Red Lobster. I was trying to hit. So, I was willing to spend a little bit of money. Hey, this is free speech. I'm going to tell you how this shit is. So I took out the Red Lobster or whatever. And yeah, she ordered that ultimate feast. That was the most expensive item on the menu ever. But then she go, well, can I order a couple entrees for my kids at home? Come on now, shorty. I can barely afford this meal in the tip here. Now you want 2 more entrees for the shorties? That's what I'm talking about. Stuff like that. You're on a date with a man. You don't, All right. But so I do want to point that out. So, but yeah, funerals they don't cost 60 grand. Whoever said that in the comments, you're going to tell me people are getting murdered and buried every damn day. You think most families are paying I don't think they're paying anywhere near 60 grand to put people in the ground. That's a lot. I see your comment, Arletha. No, 60 G's. I would tell you, shit, probably 60, 70% of families can't afford that. Your ass to be floating above ground if I had to come up with 60 G's. On a dead person, are you kidding me? You want me to spend 60 G's on somebody that's dead and I'm struggling while I'm alive? You better send a whole bunch of fucking galaxies and make that happen. No, that ain't happening. So I just want to say that to me, it sounds, and I see somebody say that the most 15. To me, it sounds like because this billionaire was offering to pay the cost, they decided to take advantage of him and do that. That's what it sounds like to me. So look, I'm willing to criticize Trump where criticism is due, but this one actually don't sound that bad to me. I don't like the effing Mexican term, but the Mexicans was trying to rip his ass off. So he used the F word. He was pissed off. Like I said, this is the one where I'm gonna side with Trump on it. I just want to say that I'm going to side with Trump on that. Looking in the comments, that's how Trump will steal and take money from the government because he thinks the government's money is his money. Well, you're about to have him maybe as your 47th president, and once that happens, a lot of the government money will be his money. But that was a good one to bring up, Will G. And the name Barbara says I was referring to the border bill. I was referring to the border bill, getting an abortion ban. People would choose their seats backing his position. Trump supporters are going to back Trump. It's just flat out. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Trump supporters are going to back Trump. I think that's pretty apparent at this point. I think it's undeniable. I think Jeremy was a low information voter, says Frozen Philosophy. There's a lot of folks like Jeremy that believe George Floyd did not die at the hands of Derek Chauvin. And there are people who believe Derek Chauvin should not be incarcerated. Now, my last guest said that Derek Chauvin in the death of George Floyd didn't do anything wrong. That one's real strong. Can you imagine that dude still on the force? Yikes. Naeem Barber says, so what he's saying is, come on, guys. Of course, he unalived someone unjustifiably. We trained them to do that. Sometimes just say you don't care if he did. Yeah, I could see some of that. Real quick in the comment section here. Yeah, that one's bad to me. Man, does I say Mandingo? Shout out to Mandingo McThickens. Damn. Sound like some Grey's Anatomy type shit. His name is Mandingo McThickens. You should be making movies with a name like that, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm not a fan of GF's lifestyle. I guess that's George Floyd's lifestyle. I'm not a fan of George Floyd's lifestyle. Laying face down, handcuffed with 3 people on top of you absolutely restricts your breathing. Common sense was absent in the exchange. It was effed up all around. Mandingo, thank you for the super chat. I don't see anything to disagree with there. Fact is, when you look at the photos, I won't even put them up because sometimes the sites don't like to see that. They'll ban it because you got a guy that's on TV, but they believe being killed. But when you look at the footage of George Floyd on the ground and Derek Chauvin on top of him, he essentially had his hands in his pocket. He was literally riding on George Floyd, kind of like the Captain Morgan commercials. I don't see any department training somebody to just sit on somebody. If the guy is struggling, you got to tase him. He's already handcuffed, by the way. If he's still struggling not to be handcuffed, then you hog tie him. You don't just ride the guy. 4 people, grab his legs, hog tie him. If you got to put a spit mask on him, you do that. And then you pick up his body all hog-tied, slide it into the damn car, put a seatbelt on, and drive him to jail. You don't just spend 9 minutes sitting on somebody. That doesn't make sense. Fact is, there were a lot of folks out there filming, which turned out to work to Derek Chauvin's detriment. But there were a lot of folks out there filming the scene and calling Derek Chauvin all kinds of names like a buster and stuff like that. And he was basically taunting the crowd by showing them, I got this guy and ain't shit you can do about it. That's what that was about, which is why he paused on George Floyd's back for so long, to show the crowd, what you gonna do about it? I got 3 or 4 of my boys here. I can call up. More of them are gonna come, talk your shit, but at the end of the day, what you gonna do about it? That's what was happening. That's what took up those 9 minutes of him trying to impress the crowd and show them, no matter how mad you get, you ain't about to step up and do a damn thing about it. And in the process, the guy under him slowly perished. That's what happened. The guy was defending his ego and he killed somebody in the process. And by the way, as I stated before, he was on his neck so long that when the paramedics showed up, they had to ask him, could you get off of him? He wasn't even gonna get off then. I mean, the paramedic is literally on video asking him, could you get up off of him now? A dead dude. You still sitting on a dead dude. Policy? Okay. Tim Pool is an accidental spy. And who is it? Wait, Tim Pool is an accidental spy and you trust him. Who is that? Name, who is an accidental spy? Real quick before I continue with the show, in the line of duty, it's more than 60K. If you bury, I don't get that. To me, well, they said she was murdered. 60K? Well, was it in the military? What was this girl? Hold on a second. Maybe I didn't hear something.
Coming news stories just today. The Atlantic is out today with a new article quoting more of the racist, reprehensible things Donald Trump says behind closed doors, including comments about a murdered Army private.
Okay, she was murdered. Was she actually? This was in the course of her job, or was it a boyfriend? How did she get murdered? Because I see you said in the line of duty, 60K still seems. I don't get it. Because the military would pay for some of this. What, 60K? Come on now. I think they were ripping Trump off. In my opinion, they had a a well on the line, and they decided to have the most expensive funeral possible. That's what I believe. 60K is not, that seems high to me. That seems, oh, another soldier did it, says Texas mom. Okay, fair enough. 60K still. This guy's coming out of his pocket and paying. To me, if it's gonna cost that much, I would have at least got on the phone and said, sir, man, we really appreciate you being there for our time of need. And explain it to him, you know, now they got different packages, you know, pass this through his assistant. You're not gonna call Trump, but through his assistants or whatever, they got different packages. We would like this, you know, to bury our loved one in style, but you know, president is paying for this. We don't want to look bad. You know, what would he approve? 60. You don't just hand him a 60K bill. I understand Trump getting a little upset about that. I just do. Bro, the biggest criticism that needs to be had is the fact that the United States citizens don't have any rights to the First, 8th Amendments and to the U.S. Constitution. Explain that. Okay, you're saying Americans don't have any rights to the First, 8th Amendments. The Second Amendment is in it. You telling me Americans don't have Second Amendment? What are you talking about? Mobile RV? You telling me Americans don't have the First 8 Amendments? That doesn't make sense. You have the right to remain silent. I know a bunch of them. No, that doesn't make sense. You got to explain that a little bit more in detail. Will G says, as a service member, 500,000. Will G says, as a service member, 500,000. That's $500,000, 500,000 life insurance payout, service member style funerals, and whatever is on the service members' will to do. Fair enough. So they didn't have to have a $60,000 burial. That's the point I'm trying to make too. Sounds like 60,000 is too high. Let me go back to the box. 60 is within reason if she had to be transported. Yeah, if she's been, man, 60K still. Yeah, I get that. Transporting the body is not cheap. I get that part. I'd like to see the funeral. I mean, damn, I hate to go that far into it, but it just seems like a lot. It seems like a lot. I'm not bashing Trump for this one. Until I would have to see more of it before I start back, because 60K seems like a lot. Mobile Art says U.S. citizens are foreigners. U.S. citizens are foreigners. Foreigners from where? U.S. citizens are foreigners. Residents, Americans are U.S. that were born of the states. How you type this, Mobile RV, I'm not able to do much with it, but I do see your statement. U.S. citizens are foreigners. Residents, Americans are us that were born of the states that the continental U.S. states, no rights for foreigners. You gotta clear that up. Going back to the box, foreigners from around the world. Once you become a citizen, you're a citizen. Even if you're born in another country, once you become a citizen, you have all of the rights and privileges of an American. Other than you can't run for president because you have to be born on U.S. soil, but the rest of that shit, once you become a citizen, you're a citizen. At least that's the way I'm under the impression of. You know, if you come over here as an immigrant, get your residency, stay long enough, apply for U.S. citizenship, and you become a citizen. Other than being a president, which means you got to be naturally born, I think just about everything else you're on equal footing. What else is missing? I think you're on equal footing with everything else. The box is playing games, so I may have to bring up another guest. Broke people stay broke by living like they're rich, and rich people stay rich by acting broke. Terry Jeffrey, there is some validity to that. There is some. Texas mom, thank you. Yeah, that's what I thought. If you become a citizen, other than you can't be a president because you got to be born here, other than that, you get all of the rights and privileges of everybody else. Even if you're not a citizen, you still have constitutional rights except for voting. That is true, but I think a lot of people on the right want to change that. I think a lot of people on the right, certainly if you're here illegally, they don't want to give you, you don't even have the right to fucking live. I mean, if you're here illegally, I don't think they want to give you the rights to anything. Somebody DUI, American, drunk while driving, run you over with a car, you don't have a right to sue him. You're not here legally. I think you leave it to the right, you wouldn't have any laws if you're here illegally. Nothing. Rolo said because they are racist. Tim, I'm coming to visit you, says First Watch. Yikes. All right, continuing on, the one and only Dencal. Good evening, Dencal. Welcome to the program. Real quick before Dencal comes through, hang on a second. Hold on, Dencal. Mobile RV says, no, you don't have all the rights and privileges of an American. You literally do not have access to the first 8 amendments. You're telling me that if you are foreign born and you become an American citizen, you don't have the right to free speech. You don't, if you become a citizen of the U.S., you don't have a right to the Second Amendment. Where do you hear that from? I don't believe that's accurate. Dencal, good evening.
Hey, what's happening?
Yeah, do you believe that if you're foreign born, you will never have the right to the first 8 amendments of the Bill of Rights?
No.
Yeah, where's it getting that from? I don't get that. So we were talking earlier, and the question was, why do so many people fear Trump?
Because they know that he will go to the ends of the earth to make things go his way. Like he does, he will destroy people's livelihoods, their ability to make money and support their family. And he can do it at the snap of a finger. Just the same way, like I know that there could be a debate about whether a funeral costs $60,000.
Yeah.
But as one of the people said, when you're talking about transporting the body, depending on when and where, I mean, it could cost you 20, 30 grand.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, maybe I spoke too soon. I'd have to hear the details. I mean, if they're transporting her from California and trying to bury her in Florida somewhere.
And the thing is, even if it were you and you were a self-proclaimed billionaire, and you told somebody, "Hey, I'll take care of the burial costs," you in the back of your mind, you might be like, "Damn, that's some bullshit."
Yeah, but I get that. Yeah, I get, but that's Trump. That's Trump.
60 grand. You're not gonna be talking about how they're fucking Mexican, bro.
Yeah, I admit the comment sounds awful, but
that overweighs everything. You saying you on his side. Dude, the whole thing that's relevant is that he called her a fucking Mexican, not how much the funeral costs.
I don't know. I hear your point, and I'm not disagreeing with you.
I can understand if you be upset, but if that's the case, if you that type of dude, you should have went there and you should have said, "Look, I got 20 grand on the funeral," and let them roll with that.
Here's why I'm pushing back. Let's say, for instance, a black person offered to, pay the funeral expenses for another black person, and the same thing happened. I could see a black person saying, it don't cost that much to bury an N-word. I mean, N-words don't cost 60 grand to put in the ground. I could see that happening there too.
That's, I would say, if somebody said that, if they were a black person, it would have a different connotation than him just calling out a whole race of people. Now, black people call black people the N-word. That's just the way it is. That doesn't mean he don't like black people. He'll just say, look, that joker trying to rip me off.
Well, I'm going to put on my MAGA hat. I'm going to play devil's advocate and say this. If he's so racist, why the hell would he offer to pay for her funeral to begin with? I mean, he knew she was Mexican when he offered to pay for the funeral, yet he was going to do that.
Because it sounds good. Everything he's doing for power and votes. Right. Just like when he got Lil Wayne out of jail and Kodak Black. He didn't do that because he liked black people. He did it because he wanted to garner inroads to the African American community. So he said, "Hey, this would be a good way to do it." So he had some of the fewest pardons in recent history. Like, he didn't do a lot what people think he did. It was select people, and we already got Rudy Giuliani saying it out loud that they were charging on people $2 million a pop. And that's why it was all rich people that was getting out.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't disagree that it's a quid pro quo on the pardons, but I don't think Trump needed to pardon the Mexican to get votes. At this point, it's kind of locked in. I got to give him credit. he helped somebody, help somebody bury a loved one. Well, he was offering to do it until this bullshit took place, but he was offering.
People are conflating doing things for some type of a quid pro quo or gain. They're conflating that with, well, he had sex with a black chick, so he couldn't be racist. That's not how it works, man. Yeah, they like to dibble dabble, ask Thomas Jefferson. Like he was all in. Yeah. But he was one of the biggest racists ever. So you can't say, well, because I hear people saying, well, no, because he dated a chick. No, he used to hit a black chick. He wasn't in no full-fledged. She was, what I'm saying.
Let me ask it to you this way, then, Cal. If it turns out she was not transported over great distances or whatever, and it does turn out that the family was trying to give her a premium funeral, would you then understand Trump's issues or his concerns or his anger?
No, because if you are scheduling a funeral and somebody says they're gonna pay for it, then they gonna pay for it, especially if they're a billionaire. I want all the smoke for my child.
Oh,
I want the carriage and I want the horse and buggy. I want the gold casket. I want the 21 gun salute. I want the procession of limos for everybody in the immediate family. I want all of that.
Knowing damn well if this guy didn't offer it, you'd be damn near burying her in a pine box. You don't see a reason to be mad about that.
No, it was never going to be a pine box because, like your other person's comment said, the death benefit for military active duty is between $400,000 and $500,000. So they was always going to be able to bury their child. They probably was going to bury her like that with the money that they had. Yeah. He was the one who spoke up.
I gotta say, if Trump had paid that $60,000, the same liberals criticizing him now wouldn't be giving him any credit and would be still saying he's pandering. To me, this seems unfair to Trump. Because go ahead.
We can have a debate. We can have a debate about like whether he's a generous person or not. But there's going to be so many situations that people can bring up about him not being a generous person. We know because he got took to court for defrauding a charity that was helping people with cancer. So why do we always have to give him the 50-50 benefit of the doubt? Well, he hasn't earned it. He's done nothing but rip people off from contractors to, charities. He had a fake school. He's selling these fake watches. Like, why do we have to say, well, yeah, they kind of doing him unfair? No, they're not.
Well, he has.
Nobody's doing him unfair.
Trump, there's a lot of folks out there that would tell you Trump has done good for them too, gave them jobs, helped them out in their time. And it ain't all bad, is it, Kyle?
I would say, as a person that has done hiring and firing and ran a business and all that stuff, man, you don't hire people because you want to be nice to them. You hire them because you need them to perform a service for you.
That's not always true.
You're hiring people that's going to help you make money. You're not just hiring people because you're just a nice guy. That's not how it works.
I think sometimes
you gotta have something to sell. You gotta have something for them to do. To hire. So if I build a factory and I need to produce a product, yes, I'm gonna hire a bunch of people to run it. That don't mean I'm a good dude. I need them to run it so I can make my money.
All right. Well, I see the comment section. They're favoring you. They think you're eating me up. All right, fair enough. So you do see this as an awful racist response from Trump.
Yeah, we got the people. We got all of the damn people in the military, the generals, chiefs of staff coming out talking about he want his generals to be like Hitler's, and
I don't have a comeback for that. I can't push back. That was horrible. But folks are suggesting that they only said that because Trump fired their ass.
Well, then that's the kind of that's the kind of cult-like mentality that people have when they will disparage the word of these decorated generals who have given up 40, 50 years of their life to public service to serve this country, and they think that they just gonna be mad at somebody and just make up a lie about them? No, I believe these men are, even though some of them might make mistakes, strategic mistakes when they planning, wars and all that kind of stuff, but these ain't the type of people that just gonna turn around and just be like, yeah, I'm gonna get him back. Yeah. Like, no, they at the end of their damn careers. Like, why would John Kelly want to go out there and make up stuff about Trump?
Yeah. Now I have no pushback for that. I said that about an hour or so on the show. I don't believe these folks who have, as you said, served this country for as many as 2 generations. Some of these folks have been around for a while. There's no way in hell they would, with their well-respected reputation, just bash the president like that. I don't buy that. I do believe that they're all saying similar things about Trump leads one to believe that they may be saying something that's true. And I say this on the show all the time. Even if it was my own mom, may God rest her soul, if so many folks that hung around her were all saying the same thing and suggesting she's a bad person, Mom, you sure? Like, why are all these people saying the same shit about you? I would go to her. I would just keep defending her. Like, everybody that you hang around keeps saying the same. Just like when you have all of these celebrities that get accused of raping women, and all of the women are coming forward in multiples, and they're giving us a similar story. Like, maybe this dude might actually be guilty of this.
Right, and they're not, all of the people that are saying this stuff about him, they all didn't leave disgruntled or got fired or stuff. Some people just left because they had enough of him. So why would they, if you left a job because you just got tired of the job or whatever, that doesn't mean I'm going to go out and start disparaging, the leader of the free world. Like, I'm not going to do that. Right. Some of these people are just not coming to speak out because guess what? They wanted to keep their oath. They were dedicated to protecting the United States, and now they see that this guy is probably about to get back in with none of the guardrails that he had before, because there won't be no Kellys and there won't be Milleys out there now. The people he bring in, they gonna say yes to whatever he say. Now they're coming out and people talking about, well, hey, wait, why they wait so late? Because they probably was hoping that it wouldn't be this close and they wouldn't have to say anything.
But let me ask you this before I move it on from you. What about the possibility that General Kelly and General Milley and some of these folks are coming out because they're starting to be worried that if Trump becomes president, they might be on the chopping block to get indicted or prosecuted for things? I mean, whether they committed crimes or not, if you're on the wrong side of Trump, because he believes people wrongfully came after him, he's certainly a guy who operates on revenge, and MAGA's not going to have any problem with him going at the people. Maybe they're coming out because they think that if this guy gets back in office, some of us may be going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite possible that falls into the equation about why they're doing what they're doing. I'm sure they've still got plenty of ties in the military, and they having conversations about that kind of stuff. But you got to be real careful in America messing with the military like that.
Yeah, you
got to be real careful, because in every country, whenever there's a coup that takes place, you got to have control of the
you got to have control of the military. But you do understand that General Milley, we talked about this before, reached out to his Chinese counterpart right after the 2020 election and told them that they didn't have to worry if Trump decided to launch some kind of attack, they wouldn't take the order. That is a crime, is it not?
Well, we have to find out exactly what was said, because I don't think it was worded. I mean, if it was worded the way you said it, if he tell us to do something like we not gonna do it, I think that would.
I think General Milley is the reason we know that. I think he's the one that either wrote a book or something and said that, not expecting Trump to be in power again or something like that. But he's the one. I think
it came out. I think it came out in the news. But I don't know what the conversation was like. And there's a million different ways you could word that, but having a conversation with your counterpart and saying, look, we have no reason, to launch any attacks on you, in the near future. So if you hear something, you hearing it from me. We don't have no, you know what I'm saying? People can word things away, in a way to say it without saying, I just ain't gonna do what he say.
Right.
But I would also say that, yes, I would want somebody in that position to take that position if it meant saving the country from nuclear holocaust. Yeah, go ahead and do it. Like you said, he could get some people together and they could try to put something together and they could go back and forth with lawyers and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's gonna be able to manipulate the court system and the rest of the military to go along with something like that, because that would make everything. It
would divide the military up, probably break it in half. I agree with that, but we'll see. I got to move it on, Cal, and I will play the clip of that on the other side. Thank you.
All right.
All right. And what we were talking about is, because like I said, I think Steve Bannon, one of Trump's right-hand men, Steve Bannon, has already indicated that if Trump wins, they're going to go after General Milley. He mentioned Comey, Fauci. Who else did he mention? They're talking about indicting several people. Steve Bannon, of all people, who's not even in the game, is talking about doing this. So it's a possibility. Real quick, this is 3 years ago. This is the one and only General Milley.
Mr. Chairman, I've served this nation for 42 years. I spent years in combat, and I've buried a lot of my troops who died while defending this country. My loyalty to this nation, its people, and the Constitution hasn't changed and will never change as long as I have a breath to give. My loyalty is absolute, and I will not turn my back on the fallen. With respect to the Chinese calls, I routinely communicated with my counterpart, General Lee, with the knowledge and coordination of civilian oversight. I am specifically directed to communicate with the Chinese by Department of Defense guidance, the policy dialogue system. These military-to-military communications at the highest level are critical to the security of the United States in order to deconflict military actions, manage crisis, and prevent war between great powers that are armed with the world's most deadliest weapons. The calls on 30 October and 8 January were coordinated before and after with Secretary Esper and Acting Secretary Miller's staffs and the interagency. The specific purpose of the October and January calls were generated by concerning intelligence, which caused us to believe the Chinese were worried about an attack on them by the United States. I am certain that President Trump did not intend to attack the Chinese, and it is my directed responsibility, and it was my directed responsibility by the Secretary to convey that intent to the Chinese. My task at that time...
I'll stop it there. He seems to be defending his actions, indicating that he had authorization to do so. So we'll leave it at that. Based on what I've heard here, the Trump administration would have to prove that he's lying about some of this. But he's making it clear that while he did reach out to them, he's naming names, suggesting it was coordinated and he had the right to do so. They've talked about going after him. So clearly the Trump administration doesn't think he had the right to do so. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, if we end up with a very far-right Republican Congress, General Milley could be in trouble. But if we have a balanced Congress, or a Congress that just doesn't want to fracture the military in half, as my last caller, Denkow, rightfully pointed out, then that he may be safe. But it does sound like if Trump gets in office, at the very least, he's going to be testifying again. And we'll leave it at that. Could be. That's what I always tell folks, what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of this coming on because, Trump is promising to get in office and go after a few people. So it really could cause a lot of problems. I see in the comments, Tay says we really got to get past the Trump era. You need to talk to about 70 million Americans that want that era to be expanded. They want to get past the Kamala Harris era. U.S. citizens are foreigners. Residents Americans are us that were born in the States. the continental U.S. I don't get that. Mobile RV. You follow up by saying, no, you do not have all the rights and privileges. Yeah, I saw that too. I don't think that's correct. Mobile RV. I don't think so. Check out my case in the Ohio Supreme Court right now. Case 24-1289. See what I can find out. Ohio SCOTUS. What was that? Appreciate the super chat. So we'll talk about it on the other. We'll talk about it eventually. Number 2412. Have they taken your case, or is this something you're just presenting to them? If they're taking your case, we may have something to discuss. Otherwise, if they're not, they may just think you're another crazy pro se presenting something that's ridiculous. Are they taking the case? Will G says Trump was the president of the United States, and that was a service member he was in charge of, and said he would pay for it. I don't think there's any debate whether Trump said he was going to pay for it or not. I think the debate is, why did it cost 60 G's? But because she was Mexican, now it's too far. All right, I get it. His comment of it doesn't take that much to bury an F in Mexican, it doesn't sound good. I get it, but I need to see why it cost 60 G's. That's all I'm saying. All smoke and mirrors with Trump, says Will G. I need to see why it cost 60 G's. That's all I'm saying. John Kelly is a general himself and has a son that died in war. Meaningless if you start messing with Trump, though. I don't think Trump or Trump supporters give a damn. They didn't care about what John McCain went through. Ruined his shoulder. Prisoner of war for 5 years. Once you get on the wrong side of Trump, nobody cares what you went through. Interesting. This is coming from Mandingo McThickens. Gotta steal that name during certain enjoyable periods in my life. Call me McThickens. Interesting how Trump helped black businesses. Received an NAACP award. I've heard that. He was well liked before running. He is now considered the racist word. Yet Biden has several examples verbally in bills against black people, but orange man bad. I know about you hear about the crime bill from Biden, vote for me, you ain't black from Biden. I will tell you this, my humble opinion, regardless of how you feel about Trump, whether he's racist or not, it's not coming in a vacuum. I'm just going to say that. Anybody calling Trump racist, maybe they're wrong, maybe they're not. But there are legitimate reasons to question some of the things Trump did. I mean, you hear about the Central Park Five all the time. You hear about him not renting to people of color because they were putting letter C on the application. That's old stuff. I've played the clips here where he's talking about he tweeted out that black people are responsible for nearly all white homicides. I've played the video clip here where he tweeted out a guy yelling white power. Why is this happening? So I get your point that Trump is not racist and people are making it up, but there is a lot of suspicious shit that's hovering around. Why would he tweet out a video of a man yelling white power? What would be the purpose of that? Is that to say you love blacks? I mean, there are a lot of things that hovers around him that at the very least is worth questioning. And I mean, because there is no legitimate, like the whole video I often play of Trump suggesting that if you are a white person and you're the victim of a homicide, there's an 81% chance that a black person, not only is it incredibly wrong, because blacks kill blacks, whites kill whites. If you are a white person and you're the victim of a homicide, the FBI quickly corrected him. The chance of it being a black person is actually 15%, not 81%. Once again, he didn't apologize for it. And last but not least, never explained, why would you tweet this out to begin with? Why would you just go online and start telling America that blacks are killing whites wholesale? So I just want to point that out. Trump may not have a racist bone in his body, but there are legitimate reasons for why people are saying this. He is doing stuff. They're not just making it up off the media or they're misinformed. He is doing wild shit like that and not explaining why. And I see in the comments, Wilma, I think that says because he is racist. I'll leave it at that. But he is doing stuff. It's not just people being misled by the media. He is doing stuff. The Trump changing the oath to support and defend Trump instead of the Constitution. I hope that doesn't happen. He said that's Trump changing the oath to support and defend Trump instead of the Constitution. That's scary. Would you remember Trump never read his daily intelligence briefs and always wanted picture books like a child? I don't know about him wanting picture books. I've never heard of that, but I have heard plenty of people say he did not read intelligence books. By the way, apparently Obama left him blueprints for how to handle the next pandemic that might hit this country. And he didn't read that or follow that either, which is why many suggest that the pandemic was worse than it should have been. I'll leave it at that. Lord, Mobile RV, look up a video called Richard Donald State Citizen. I'll add that to your case number. Richard Donald State Citizen. Okay, you sound like you've been really trying to promote something here in the state of Ohio Supreme Court. Richard Donald State Citizen, if you're really interested in why you are and if you really want to understand your rights, who has them and why. All right, I'd be curious to see, but I'm skeptical, for lack of a better term. Mobile RV says, yes, the case is open and the state has responded. We're back and forth between vigorous value. Okay, all right, you're making progress. Shout out to you. Doing your civic duty and certainly making progress. I need to see your case, though. I'll take a look at it. I really hope we have a decent Republican candidate next year. 2025? Huh? He got 1,500 of his followers doing prison time. And I will say that in conclusion of the show is that, yeah, Trump cost a lot of, did you hear what happened to Rudolph Giuliani now? Shout out to them two black women, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. They getting the keys to the car. They getting, he got Mickey Mantle cards and World Series. You got to give all that shit up. These two chicks are going to get paid. Rudolph Giuliani got to get them everything. You know, like they say in the hood, ERR, everything. Everything of value. You got to give them the penthouse, all of that. You know, what did Biggie once say? Showed her the safe combination and all that. Everything. Showed her, everything. Like, wow. So he had 7 days to do that as of, I think, yesterday. Every day. Now, apparently he has pension and a few things that can't be touched, but considering how much money they won from Rudolph Giuliani, they probably won't get it all, but they're not going to be like Ron Goldman going after O.J. Simpson. They are going to get some money. And when you think of the fact that they were volunteer posters in southern Georgia down there, and no, they set for life. Keep in mind, most Americans make less than $60,000 a year. Even $1 million or $2 million is a lot of money to the average American. And they won a lot of millions from Rudolph Giuliani. So shout out to Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman. They are now financially cured. Could be a Dave Ramsey moment. I'm debt free. You know, when Dave Ramsey have you yell out you're debt free. Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman can now do that thanks to Rudolph Giuliani deciding to accuse them of cheating in the election. So, wow. They and I see in the comments, Tay, you are right. They could have been killed. They could have been killed. In fact, voting, because of what Trump did in 2020, voting has become unsafe in America. Most polling places now, the cops are there and things like, people do not trust voting process in America. And it's not, most of it is not based on anything other than what was said. The overwhelming majority of accusations Trump made, now I'm not saying 100%, but the overwhelming majority of accusations Trump made in the 2020 election were never proven. Yeah, there was some fraud, but the Dominion voting machine switching votes from Trump to Biden and most of that stuff he said is actually, it has not been proven. It's not been proven. Yet people are fearful of voting on every level now because of that stuff. You know, what they showed you in 2000 Mules, which I've seen 6 times, all of that. People don't trust the process anymore. Mandingo McThickens, I'm not saying Trump hasn't said questionable things. My point is that the vast majority of people that voted Biden was because they felt Trump is the R word, is racist, which is crazy considering Biden's history. Fair point, but I'll push back and say this. When we talk about Biden and his potential history of racism, most of the stuff, other than vote for me or you ain't black, most of the stuff is 20, 30 years ago. When you talk about Trump, it's very recent. 5, 10 years ago, yesterday. So that's why that happened. Is that you got to go back, you got to bring up the 94 crime bill on Biden. Or you got to bring up when he was hanging around Senator Byrd. All of that stuff is a generation ago or more. The 94 crime bill is obviously 30 years ago. So when you're talking about Trump, yeah, the Central Park 5 and that stuff is old. But what I'm talking about, with him tweeting out, talking about black people are responsible for 80% of white death, that stuff's recent. He's done that stuff within the last few years. So that's why more people are seeing Trump that way than Biden. Biden comes across as somebody who may have had a racist past and actually corrected it. Trump, in my opinion, comes across as somebody who may have been friendly to minorities and went the opposite direction. If you look at how Trump's life was decades ago to how it's now, and you look at how Biden's life was decades ago to how it's now, it looks like they flipped, because Biden is out there appointing black Supreme Court justices and black vice presidents and all of that. Whereas Trump is talking about police immunity and, fucking Mexicans. I mean, he's the opposite. He's the opposite of Biden, in my opinion, based on what I'm seeing. That's all I'm saying, based on my opinion. Will G says Trump allegedly wasn't Soviet generals instead of American generals. Huh? Trump allegedly wasn't Soviet general. I don't think you typed that right, Will. I don't quite get that. Real quick in the comments before we move it on. I wonder if Trump would pardon Rudolph Giuliani. He definitely should. If I'm Trump's advisor, even though I think Rudolph Giuliani was a criminal, but this man gave everything up for you. He would not have, he did all that for you. You got to pardon him. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm out committing capers and my boy is willing to hide me from the cops, which is a crime, or put me in the back of the getaway car or lie to police, which is a crime, I got to look out for my boy. He helped me out. I mean, Rudolph Giuliani literally gave his whole life away for Trump. I mean, because he's up on criminal charges too. He's part of that whole fake elector shit down in Georgia. Fonnie Willis is after him too. So he gave up all his finances and he gave up potentially his freedom. Completely, his legacy is totally gone. So he gave up his finances, potentially his freedom, and definitely his legacy. You won't be, out of all of the mayors that have served New York, when you're reading up on him, when he comes around to Giuliani, that whole Trump saga is going to come up too. That's now part of his legacy. So he's gave up a lot. I mean, he's election fraud and lost his law license. I mean, he gave up a lot. So if I'm Trump, I'm a partner. Yeah, I was on some bullshit, but you followed me and you was willing to go to the deep end and defend me. I got to look out for you. So yes, my guess is he would pardon Giuliani. He's not going to pay his legal fees, but all you do is need to sign a piece of paper to pardon him. He would pardon Giuliani. I believe he would. I think just about anybody who was willing to really give it all up for Trump and they're still defending Trump is probably good for a pardon if he becomes president. Trump is really good at rewarding loyalty. I'll just say that if you're loyal to Trump and he's up, you gonna eat. Y'all all eating. I mean, he gonna look out for you at least on that level if you really looking out for him. But things go bad, they're gonna go really bad with Trump. I mean, because with Trump, everything is personal. Anyhow, folks, it is at that time as usual. I do appreciate you folks tuning in. 113,000. I didn't promote tapping the screen, but I do want to ask you folks to follow the program on TikTok, subscription on YouTube, if you will. I'm here every day into Election Day, just simply for the fact we only got 12 days now. It's after midnight. 12 days into election. Before I go real quick, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you are 100% certain, I want you to put in T or K, who you're supporting, and with scale of 1 to 10, between 1 and 10, how confident you feel your candidate of choice is going to win. So if you feel certain Trump is going to win, it'll be T10. K10 for Kamala. How strong, scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that your candidate is going to win? And put a T or a K for which candidate you're choosing. I just want to see, I see some K10s. 5, wow. You put the 5 in, but you didn't put which candidate. 5 who? T10 on YouTube for, does that say dopey? All right, Flinton 7 says T10 also. I see Edward Kemp says K10. All right, Harris 7. Wow, I see most of the suspicion is with Harris. All my Trump support. Well, I was going to say all my Trump supporters are confident until I seen Laura with a T7 and Double X with a T2. Double X. You're only giving Trump a 20% chance of winning and you're supporting him. Wow. Wow. If you don't want to make America great again, why are you in America? We voting Trump, baby. I like it, Paul, but the fact is, Trump's idea of making America great again is things that people don't agree with. I don't believe giving police immunity is going to make the country great. So that's why people are feeling that way. T7 from Brad. Trump is leading in early voting in Georgia. All right, fair enough. Isaiah T9. All right, so I think I will say exactly what I said at the beginning of the live. I do believe Trump supporters are more confident than Kamala Harris supporters. I do believe more of the nervousness is on the Democratic side. Dementia guy says K5. All right. Osby, K10. Okay, we got a few strong. CNF with a K10. Charletta, I can't pronounce. K10 as well. I'm already in the scope, and I ain't doing that. All right, fair enough. Do appreciate you folks tuning in. I will catch you folks tomorrow. It is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Unfortunately, I do have a day job. Got to get up early. See you then.